So I guess the big news that's just dropping, Kanye West is being sued for $250 million because he said George Floyd died due to a fentanyl overdose. You cannot defame the dead. So this seems like a stupid waste of time. But I guess what they're going to be arguing is that accusing George Floyd of having died from fentanyl reflects poorly on the work being done by the family. And so I suppose in that regard, they're going to try and loop this around and be like, look, we're trying to be activists and be political, and the story of George Floyd matters. So they're actually defaming us. I don't think it's going to fly, but we'll talk about that. Plus, there's just, Kanye's in the news. Elon Musk is in the news. It looks like the Twitter deal is about to close. Twitter has locked the accounts of their employees so they can't trade shares, which sounds like they're getting ready for this deal. Now, that was, a story that's just breaking very, very around now. Recently. And we were planning on talking about initially, which is why I'm a little, was a 32-point swing from independent women from Democrat to Republican in like the past month. A major shift, something happened. And now you've got these ridiculous Joe Biden coming out saying we're going to codify Roe v. Wade, even though it's not a top issue for voters. The economy is. And you've got Eric Swalwell putting out what may be one of the funniest satirical parody bits I've ever seen. A woman eating dinner with her husband when the police come to arrest her because she got an abortion. But it's just like so poorly done. It looks like an SNL skit. So we'll talk all about that. Before we do, my friends, head over to eatrightandfeelwell.com. Click the link in the description below and pick up your C8 MCT oil powder from BioTrust Keto Elevate. Again, eatrightandfeelwell.com. The keto diet, it works wonders. I mean, talk to your doctor, nutritionist about what's right for you. But if you're interested in doing this, trying to lose weight or just get healthy, check out BioTrust's MCT oil powder. I like putting it in my coffee. It's actually really good. It's not too unlike creamer. And many of you may have noticed, if you watched the John Stossel interview with me that just came out recently, I was more rotund. I was a portly fella. And I lost like 30 some odd pounds really fast. No joke. It was like in the span of a month when I cut out the sugar and started going keto. Head over to eatrightandfeelwell.com and you'll get a 60-day money-back guarantee. Keto Elevate provides your body only C8, the most ketogenic MCT. That means it provides support for energy levels, healthy appetite management, mental clarity and focus, athletic performance. How do you think I work so much, right? 5 grams of the highly sought-after MCT C8. Keto Elevate, personally, it's my favorite. I really do like it. You'll get free shipping on every order, and for every order today, BioTrust donates a nutritious meal to a hungry child in your honor through their partnership with NoKidHungry.org. To date, BioTrust has provided over 5 million meals to hungry kids. Please help them hit their goal of 6 million meals this year. You'll also get free VIP live health and fitness coaching from BioTrust's team of expert nutrition and health coaches for life with every order. And their free new e-report, the top 14 ketogenic foods with every order. It says new, but I mean, I shout it out every month, so unless it's like being updated. Again, eatrightandfeelwell.com. Shout out BioTrust. Thank you for sponsoring the show. And also head over to timcast.com. Become a member directly by clicking that beautiful Join Us button to support our journalists directly. You'll also get access to the uncensored members only show. We have one coming up tonight at 11 p.m. where we talk about issues that are not so family friendly and can get a little bit spicy. But also, we have a new episode of the Cast Castle vlog up tonight, starring 2 amazing guests, Rusty Cage and Blair White. So you'll definitely not want to miss this one. It's at timcast.com. It's probably going to get a lot of people really angry, so I'm really excited. Should be, I don't know, some people might be offended by it, but it's all jokes. It's all jokes. Blair was fantastic. Rusty Cage was hilarious, so I'm really excited for this episode of the Cast Castle vlog. We're getting there. We're ramping up, making things better and better. And of course, we have a bunch of other shows. So don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us today to talk about all of this and more is Ammon Bundy.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You sound like it, huh?
Yeah, it sounds fun.
So who are you for those that aren't familiar?
So I live in Idaho. I'm running for governor in Idaho, and but mostly I'm a husband, a father. I grew up on a ranch that kind of got famous in 2014, the Bundy Ranch, and a lot of things happened there that maybe we'll talk about.
Absolutely.
Get a chance anyway.
So there was a standoff with the feds.
Yeah.
I believe people went to prison.
My family been ranching there for, well, now 150 years.
Wow.
And federal government came in and basically said that we couldn't do it anymore. They wanted to make our ranch a mitigation area for the desert tortoise. And my dad wasn't willing to give up his rights, and so he decided he was going to take a stand, and it got a lot of attention internationally and here in the United States. And that kind of kicked me out of my little comfort zone, and ever since then I've been fighting and standing up and helping people, and now I'm running for governor.
Right on. Well, we'll talk about, we'll definitely be talking about that. That'll be interesting. So thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
We also got the t-shirt salesman himself.
I have so many questions. This is going to be a great podcast. Hey, guys, I'm here to be more anti-government than our anti-government guest. My name is Luke Rudowski of wearechange.org, and I come here with one very simple message. Regulate your government, not your neighbor. If you agree with that message, you could get the shirt on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. Because you do, that's why I'm here. Thank you so much for having me.
I will be playing
Yeehaw.
statist on the show tonight, the left-wing guy that wants to, talk. I'll be the authoritarian. I'm just kidding. Good to see you, man.
You guys going to come over the table at each other?
Yeah,
or
most likely we'll roll around. We've been meaning to work out together anyway, so I think it'll be a lot of fun.
That's great.
And I am here representing Idaho. Voting for you, Mr. Guy.
There you go.
Take it away.
All right. Well, let's just jump into this first story. Check it out from Yahoo. George Floyd's daughter announces $250 million lawsuit against Kanye West. And then it says, the mother of George Floyd's daughter announced they are filing a $250 million lawsuit against Kanye West over his recent statements about Floyd's death. The rapper, who goes by Ye, erroneously declared on a podcast that Floyd died from fentanyl, not as the result of police brutality. Now, you see, I love how they say he erroneously declared. No, Kanye defiantly declared. He was basically saying, I don't agree with your assessment that it was police brutality. Now, the official coroner's report says, I think it was the police action, and there were contributing factors, which included heart disease and drug use. The report actually showed, I believe, that he had fentanyl, norfentanyl, THC, methamphetamine in his system.
And nicotine as well.
And nicotine, so he's smoking cigarettes.
There's 5 drugs, in his system.
Wow. And I guess the report was that he was chewing on a speedball, which is like meth and fentanyl combined or something. Is that what it is?
Speedball is cocaine and heroin, I think, combined. But in this case, it would be fentanyl.
Oh, okay. So apparently he was like chewing on it and then he spit it out or whatever. Yeah. I don't know. So look, this is Kanye West's opinion. He's allowed to have one. He watched a documentary. It's ridiculous that you can sue for that. I mean, you can sue a ham sandwich. Doesn't mean you're going to win. Kanye's comments are a repugnant attempt to discount George Floyd's life and to profit from his inhumane death, attorney Pat D. Dixon III said in a statement on Tuesday, adding that the goal with the lawsuit is to hold Mr. West accountable for his flagrant remarks. Yeah.
He also had COVID, and a lot of people were pointing out, particularly Jack Posobiec, that he was also unvaccinated. So he was like, "Take that, leftists."
Oh yeah.
But again, this is just an opinion, and I think I was kind of talking about this story on my program yesterday, and I'm like, this could be the Alex Jones precedent that has been set here. As we've seen, Alex Jones has now been sued by the family members that he criticized to the tune of $1 billion. And I think this is going to be an important verdict that I think they're going to be playing off in this particular court case to try to stifle people from expressing opinions that they don't like. And it's just crazy. Where's free speech? Where's the First Amendment? We should be able to exercise our ability to say whatever we want.
So, Tim, is it all right if I just set this one out? I don't really want to be sued here.
Okay.
Is that okay? No,
All right.
I'm totally joking. No.
I mean, look,
the mother of George Floyd's daughter. I don't. What's that all about?
I guess
I'm confused here.
There's no baby mama.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, it's
Or
got to
like-
be something like
There'll
that.
be George Floyd's baby mama. Is that? I'm trying to make sure I
Not
get
his
it right.
girlfriend, though. They weren't
Right.
official.
No, like baby mama, meaning like someone you had a kid with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So the appropriate term would be baby mama.
Yeah, I think that's that. I think you're right. Anyway, I was just kidding about setting this one out. But
Well, you don't want to get sued.
We could
you know.
all get sued by what we say here today because if this is, I'm not. I don't care. I'm actually being sued right now by St. Luke's for defamation.
No
St.
way.
Luke's Hospital. Yeah.
Why?
So,
Wow, no way.
because I stood for a family where they were involved in taking their child through a CPS case, and I rallied a bunch of people and we got the child back to
Wow.
his parents, and
Now
then
they're suing
later St. Luke sued me.
Oh, wow.
for defamation. So
Look.
I mean, it's not $250,000 or $250 million, but hey,
$250,000. Yeah, I mean,
is that what it was?
Yeah, 250
Okay.
million.
Oh, yeah.
Alex Jones, you saw that story, right? $965 million.
Yeah.
That's the meme now. Like whenever someone's caught in line, you just say like, I demand $965 million. Now, a lot of people need to understand, like, he wasn't just ordered by the judge to pay $965 million. It was like $50 million for this family, $60 million for this family, $40 million for this family. And I'm like, where do those numbers come from? You know, is like, what's the true cost of, you know, let's say everything they accuse Alex Jones of doing is like true and legit. Like, how do you get to $40 million? And for that matter, Kanye West goes on some podcast and he goes, I watched a documentary by Candace Owens and it said this is what really happened. And now he's got $250 million.
Out of
Come
nowhere.
on, man.
Out of nowhere.
You know, fine. Set the precedent, because I got a bunch of lawsuits I could file against all the fake news. And you know what? If they want to play this game, each and every one of you can sue all of the fake news outlets for every lie they put out.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm glad we're revisiting the George Floyd stuff because it really concerned me the amount of drugs he had in his system. According to one coroner's report, there were two coroner's reports. One the family had done, and they said he died. I believe it was asphyxiation that brought on a heart attack. The other one said it was just a heart attack that killed him. And then you look at the drugs in his system. They said that he had levels of fentanyl that were intoxicating, meaning he was high. He was behind the wheel of a car when they pulled him out. He was screaming. If you see the second video of him, screaming at the cops that were dragging him, like trying to control him, to take him out of the car, put him on the ground. He's like, put me on the ground, put me on the ground. I'm going to die. He kept screaming, I'm going to die.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe. He was screaming before they ever put any knees or anything on the guy. Like, he was struggling. He was in a bad state. I think he was freaking out because he'd just been doing a speedball and he was behind the wheel of a car. Felt like he was going to go back to prison or go to prison. And he the whole terror thing really pushed him into I'm not saying that terror killed him, but, you know, panic can cause people to die. You know, your heart can stop for things like that. So this is important to talk about.
Here's the ridiculous thing. PolitiFact says Floyd did have fentanyl in his system at the time of his death, as West said. However, the Hennepin County, Minnesota medical examiner ruled the cause of death was homicide due to cardiopulmonary arrest, complicating law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression. Experts in toxicology, cardiology, and drug use stated death by overdose was unlikely or impossible. So what we're dealing with is Kanye West watched a documentary. The real lawsuit would need to be pointed at the Daily Wire. Good luck with that. Because here's how the stupid system works. I got to admit, it's a relatively stupid system. A news outlet can publish a lie about anyone here. And then let's just hypothetically say NBC News publishes a false statement of fact. ABC then sees it and reposts it. NBC, the original story, deletes it and says, whoops, we were wrong. But now it still exists on the other outlet. And if you sue them, they'll say, we cited a different website, so you have to go after them. They'll say, we already took it down. Then 800,000 other news outlets will go to ABC and copy what they wrote, and there is nothing you can do to get that stuff taken down.
Absolutely right. Yep.
What do you got?
Your power outlet.
Was that me again?
Yep.
Over to AC Hum. Yeah, there it goes.
Yep.
Thanks, man.
It's also important
take
to
it
note here that Kanye, or Ye, whatever he wants to be
Ye.
called,
Yay.
Yeah, Ye,
It's Kanye.
I'm going to say
Yeah,
from now on. Also donated $2 million to the George Floyd family a couple years ago, and
Wasn't
now-
enough. They want more.
He's a
Now they're
compassionate
suing
dude.
him for $250 million. I mean, these cases are just frivolous, and it shows you how people are being punished for expressing wrong think. That's not a society that is free. That's not a society that, of course, could allow freedom of speech. And again, this is something that should be important. You could express any opinion, but because people get their emotions hurt, they could throw you in court and waste your time and money. That's just crazy.
Hey, money talks, man.
So is this because in defamation cases, there has to be some way to prove that there was like a loss of income or something to that element.
Damages.
I mean, what are they claiming? Like,
I don't know. Maybe this is just a PR thing. It's going to get him a bunch of attention.
Yeah.
They're going to get it's a virtue signal. It's going to get him we're the good guys fighting back against, crazy Kanye or whatever.
Or they hope that he has a bunch of money. He'll just settle with them. They'll get a few $100,000 or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. But I also kind of think Kanye's the kind of guy who's going to be like, he's going to go to a lawyer and just be like, here's $1 million. Have fun.
Yeah.
You know, when you're a billionaire like that, you don't really got to think twice about it.
If Kanye had to pay restitution to this family, would it be taxed? Do they tax restitution payments? Do you guys know?
I don't know, actually. They might not.
Because it's like a donation. He could be like, oh, and here's an easy way to donate another $50 million to this family if I want to.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I think I actually talked with a lawyer about this, and I'm not exactly sure. Maybe people in the chat might know better. But yeah, that's an interesting point, because if you say you cost me $1 million, you got to pay me the $1 million back. The argument is that you're already negative the $1 million. So you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like if I'm negative $1 million, you give me $1 million, I'm at zero. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the argument.
I think this is really an example of piggybacking off the Alex Jones trial that we just saw, where they people that weren't even named in. Yeah, we've got a buzz. We're trying to figure out where that's coming from. It's not on my end though.
It's not my end. It's unplugged.
Where people that weren't even named by Alex Jones for the defamation thing.
Really?
All right,
Yeah,
we solved it.
There you go.
People that weren't even named were suing Alex for defamation, which is very odd, because normally if you're not named publicly, then I don't see what basis you have or standing you have. And that $1 billion settlement is like, now people are feasting. They're like, ooh, anything anybody said about me that hurts my feelings, I can maybe get money for.
Just never describe people. You know,
really
like just never identify someone in any meaningful way. So like, what did I say the other day? That I said something about annoying white liberal women on Twitter. You know who I'm talking about. And then everyone, oh yeah, I know. And I was like, I just said annoying white. I don't know. I wasn't referencing anyone in particular, but everybody seemed to have someone in mind. Yeah. So there you go. That annoying white liberal woman on Twitter, you know I'm talking about. She is the worst. She kicks dogs. It's like, I didn't say, who am I accusing? I'm like, no one nondescript.
Yeah.
If someone changes their name to white liberal woman, can they retroactively sue you? What were you saying?
All those people that went to Jeffrey Epstein Island, all of them, they're all bad.
They're all bad. I don't know, though. Actually, there's an interesting strategy in defamation. Like, Luke, if you were to call out any one of those people who went to Epstein Island and you say as a statement of fact they did a thing, they might be able to sue you. And you can say, oh, no, I'm being sued. Time to go to discovery. Show me all the communications you've had with Epstein, everything you've done on the island. And you could potentially open it up to be like, okay, let's see what you got. And then you get them under oath in front of a lawyer and you can ask them the question directly. Yeah. So strategic lawfare, I guess. I think there's pros and there's cons.
If you have the time and the money, though, to deal with it, because you get sucked into the courts and they just drag it on for years and years and years. Mm-hmm. You're paying an attorney, you have to go to the hearings. It's just, and someone like West doesn't matter. He has an attorney do it. But if they're going after, people who don't have the funds or the means to be able to defend themselves, it becomes quite a problem.
Oh, you just lose instantly. Yeah, people really, you really need to understand this. I mean, if you can be just outright shut down. If you get sued and you can't afford a defense, like, what do you even do?
So now you have to have an attorney for free speech, right? To be able to speak how you want to speak, you have to have an attorney there backing up and a couple $100,000 to defend yourself.
Yep. Money talks.
Yeah. For-profit lawfare. I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but lawyers provide the service. I've talked to a bunch of lawyers about a whole bunch of other issues, and there's varying degrees of issues where, I've been defamed, and they'll say there's no standing here. Sorry, you have no damages. And then they'll also say, I mean, you can sue them. And, that it's just lawfare, basically, where it's like someone defames you, they defamed you, but they're protected by the precedent Times v. Sullivan, meaning, you need actual malice, or you can't prove damages, which is, I think that's absolutely insane, because then you end up with 100 news outlets all trying to destroy your ability to fundraise. But then how do you prove it was their statements that stopped your ability to fundraise? Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking about like Project Veritas. How often has it been that Project Veritas has lost a donation because of defamation? How do you know? Are you going to go knock on the door and be like, ma'am, do you ever heard of us? Okay, would you have done? You would have donated to us, but what? Oh, you saw ABC. Well, there we go. Now I'll write that down. That's damage. No, there's no way to find those people. So I think there's pros and there's cons here. I actually think the solution to this should be, if you get sued, like if you sue someone for defamation, the immediate, there should be were you damaged by this? And if so, upon proving fault, the individual should compensate you for the damages. Mm-hmm. However, if the damages are ill-defined, in either context, you should be forced to issue a correction. stating the facts. So if Luke said something like Ian once, threw a jar out the window, and then Ian proves it wasn't, or Ian then sues and says, prove it, and Luke can't, then Luke would have to be like, I have no evidence to support this claim. Or, in the instance, it probably needs to be a bit more specific than that, but my point is, if someone says, I did a thing I didn't do, and it's provably false, I should be able to sue them to force them to publish a correction prominently to rectify the damaged reputation, because it's not just about money, it's about reputation in the long run. And then what happens if someone defames you and the damages don't come until a year later? It's just, there's got to be a way to solve for this, because the media can just keep lying about everybody and getting away with it.
Well, yeah, that's what they do. That's their modus operandi. So.
Modus operandi.
Yeah.
Wait, is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Sounds Latin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Well, there you go. Let's talk politics now that we talked about Kanye West. We got this story from Vanity Fair. How scared should Democrats be about the midterms? I'll just jump right to the bottom and I'll explain. They say, even if you ignore the eye-popping 32-point swing among independent women, the near Republican lead it shows tracks with other recent polls. Simply put, for some reason, in the past couple of weeks, almost all of the polls have shifted from Democrat to Republican. And now it's looking like if you add that together with the bias in the polls as it is, red wave, red tsunami. So are we excited? Are we secretly laughing because we know that Republicans aren't actually going to do anything if they do win? Where are we at with this?
Yeah.
I don't know if excited is the right word, but I'm satisfied with the change in politics. Also, change in geographicals. I've been just watching maps of like countries changing over the years, and like people I think have this idea that borders are stagnant. Borders constantly have changed throughout history, and I think political affiliations, political parties, new ones are created, old ones go defunct. Tulsi Gabbard left the Democratic Party. I think it's inevitable that thing is. I mean, as people wake up and see that the fascist business collusion with the Democratic Party, it becomes kind of apparent that it's not the good guys. Not that the people are bad. I think a lot of the people involved are just involved because they always have been. But you know that system is pretty busted up. Looks like from the outside.
So, is it more than just the women, or is it a full shift?
There's a full shift across the board, but a 32 point. This is one poll, by the way. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just a bad sample size, but among independent females, 32-point swing. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, I think that's so telling.
It was plus 14 Democrat, and then a couple weeks later, plus 18 Republican.
Wow.
And I think it might have to do with schools, but I really do think it just kind of comes down to gas prices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe Biden got caught in a quid pro quo with Saudi Arabia, and then people were just like, I'm sick of it.
Ammon, you're running. What are you seeing on the ground? What are your people telling you about the projections? How are you seeing this political landscape?
Yeah, well, in Idaho, we have this struggle between what we call conservatives and Republicans, because everybody in Idaho is pretty much Republican,
right.
So literally. And so like the deep state, the establishment, well, they're Republican. Well, and the conservatives who want freedom and want the good things of life and want this country to be free, well, they're conservatives, but they're also Republican. And so that's what we're seeing, like kind of this battle of establishment Republicans versus true conservatives. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting. And the mothers have a lot to say about it. They're concerned, and I don't know if this is nationally why this poll is so strong when it comes to women, but they're worried about their children. They're worried about their they're worried about the future of their children. That's constantly on their mind. I'm sure they don't like paying the $5 gas either.
Oh yeah,
but I think they have a sense of like, if we don't do something right now, like, if we don't correct this, this is going to get much, much worse. So
there was a poll where they asked people, would you vote for someone who denied the election? And Democrats overwhelmingly said no, and Republicans were kind of split. I think it's funny because the Democrat perspective is Trump, and so they just think they're ragging on Trump. But if it's like, okay, what about Hillary Clinton? She denied the election several times. She still does to this day. And then they're like, oh, well, But I think it's funny because ultimately what the poll found is that no one cares. No one cares about this stuff. They're going to them and saying like January 6th. Even Saturday Night Live was making fun of the January 6th committee. And they called Adam Schiff a villain from the horror movie Smile. And then he was like, we're not even going to listen to what he has to say. He's too spooky. And they just skip over him. I thought that was funny. Just ragging on the guy. But hey, there you go. The January 6th stuff is so unappealing that Saturday Night Live thought making fun of it would actually do well for them. And it did. Although they did make a joke that you're either a Republican who's not watching it or a Democrat who's nodding so much your head's falling off. But then they mock Chuck Schumer mercilessly and Nancy Pelosi. So, it is what it is. But I think the reality that they know but won't let go. Nobody who's voting is voting because of this. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, maybe a handful of people are like, we better save our democracy. But I guarantee you walk down the street and you say, who are you voting for? They're going to say, Republican. Why? Gas. Okay, that's it. End of story. Inflation.
Economics is always seems to be the number one reason why power shifts from one party to the other.
Yep.
Yeah,
How's your race going particularly? Like, who are you running against? What's the biggest difference between you and your competitor?
So I'm running against the Republican incumbent, Brad Little, and he's the establishment guy there, the deep state, if you will, and
kind of a rhino.
Yeah, he's absolutely a rhino.
Yeah.
Idaho was we look at Idaho, and I think the rest of the country looks at Idaho and says, hey, they're really conservative. They're kind of, more far right.
Yeah.
However, Idaho was the first state to arrest pastors for having church outside during COVID.
Wow.
And we were the first state to arrest a mother for taking her kids to the park. Mm-hmm. And it was all done under Governor Little's lockdown orders. And so, the difference is, completely different. I don't believe the way he believes. I don't believe that that's the purpose of government. Yeah. I believe the purpose of government is to protect people's rights, not to infringe upon them. And
this is Idaho.
Yeah, this is Idaho.
You got people in Oregon who want to leave Oregon and join Idaho.
Yeah, they're
Barking up the
the
road.
highways are clear full of people coming into Idaho. It's the fastest growing state.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
in the country.
Yeah, but you know who it is?
Tell me.
Well, we're hearing a lot that wealthy people are buying up these wealthy, ranches and estates.
Yep.
Yeah,
prices are insane.
That's happening
I think
too.
they're called Californians.
Yeah.
Californians.
And I think there's also a lot of elitists buying like doomsday properties and farming properties.
Absolutely.
And there's also one guy who loves to, force down fake meat down everyone's throat, who's also buying up a lot of property everywhere else.
Who?
What's his name?
It starts with a B.
Friend of yours?
Like that.
Friend of yours.
It's like he represents closing of
Like
something.
closing of gates or something?
Something like that, yeah.
I wonder who that is.
So can we not say that then on this show?
No,
then?
it's Bill Gates.
Bill Gates is a scumbag.
Full
There you go.
disclosure. Is he? I don't know him. I'm going to stop insulting people's person and start insulting the things they do.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because I have a feeling I'm going to meet these people one day.
When Bill Gates was being interviewed about being on Epstein's plane and then just went, well, he's dead now anyway.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, what a bad guy.
Kinda
someone lost their life here. You know what I mean? Like, Bill, come on.
You
He
were
was your
saying-
friend, Bill.
Ammon, you were saying
Bill
there
was
was
friends
They were
with-
very close to the point where he even divorced his wife because of their close friendship together.
You were saying
Jeez, dude.
you were mentioning
That was your
earlier-
buddy, man. That was your best friend. And if
just
someone's going to treat their best friend like that, imagine how they're going to treat you.
I just want to point out real quick that we did the story about how Bill Gates has organizations that track mentions of him, in media. So there you go, Bill. Anyway, you were saying.
What's up, Billy?
man?
You were mentioning earlier a difference between conservatives and Republicans,
Yeah.
especially in Idaho. Do you find that as conservatives that people tend more toward libertarianism, but that they don't adopt the Libertarian Party because it's too small or something?
I don't think that it's too small. I think the issue ultimately is kind of on abortion. Like they won't go to the libertarian side because of abortion and also because of kind of law enforcement, really. Mm-hmm. Like they just love law enforcement no matter what they do. And this would be the establishment and the conservatives. But people are waking up that there's good law enforcement, there's bad, and it can be very dangerous. And so I would say if there was two issues, it would be that. It would be, libertarian view on abortion, and then also just law enforcement and their role and who they are and what they do.
So if you would win the race, what's the first few things you would do? What's your policies that you're running on? How would you change Idaho?
So one is abortion. I mean, we have this opportunity. I am absolutely for protecting life. I believe that life begins at conception. And so I think that we have to protect that life. So number one, or at least that's the first thing I will do. And Roe versus Wade being overturned pushed it back onto the states, so it makes it a lot easier for me to do that. We also have like major problems in Idaho, in the West, because if you look at a map, and people out east just don't realize this, but if you look at a map, east of the Colorado Rockies, the federal government controls 51% of the land mass. And in Idaho, it's 61%. And then they're controlling 72% of the subsurface mineral rights.
Wow.
And so it's making it so like Idaho can't even pay its own bills. Like we're beholden to the federal government to pay our bills because they're controlling all our land and our resources. And so that battle has to be fought, and I plan on fighting
How
that.
did the feds get control of the land?
So it's a long, long story, but this is like the whole battle that my family was in, that basically culminated in 2014, because the states were enabled into the union, and all the land and all the resources were supposed to then go to the state and the jurisdiction of that state. But through this environmentalist movement, and because the area is so arid, people didn't go live on it. They couldn't live on it. Mm-hmm. And the federal government came in later and claimed it. And now they're claiming it as their own. They're saying it's in trust, and that they never released it or disposed of it is the right word. And so there's this major battle with like families like my family, and my father in particular, where they're trying to defend their rights. My family's been there for now almost 150 years. And the federal government comes in and says, well, we're taking it from you. Well, there's this, and that's happening all over the West. And
Well,
so,
I mean, but you got to trust the government, right? They're here to help.
Sure. Yeah, they're here to help. And they're doing it for, the right reason, I'm sure,
What was it, the tortoise?
Yeah, desert tortoise. But
Well, you got to protect the tortoise. I mean,
Well,
come on.
yeah. I mean,
What
they
is
need
your
protecting.
family for all? Tortoise.
That's right. Yeah, I mean,
that's probably what
my
they've
family
been,
doesn't
right?
need to make a living. They can move to the city and do whatever they're going to do there, even though we've been there for 150 years.
Have you considered owning nothing and being happy?
I have a hard time considering that. I just can't see how it'll work.
There's some puffy pods out there, though, and video games, VR, they're pretty cool.
Maybe
Yeah.
the tortoise.
How
could hire you.
about this?
Reality.
How about some bug protein?
Virtual
Here's a
reality.
compromise. We'll take your whole family. We'll put them in pods. We'll give them VR headsets that simulate working on a ranch out in Idaho.
And all the bugs you could eat. Non-stop bugs.
Yeah, exoskeletons, right? That are bad for us. I don't know.
Yeah, chitin.
Yeah.
Indigestible
don't know.
bug shells.
So the feds came in and were like, by the way, we've owned this the whole time and you didn't know, kind of thing? Or what?
Did they offer
Was it like-
compensation?
No, not at all. Not at all. They did do that, which is an absolute lie. They tried to make the people of this country believe that has always been in federal hands and that it wasn't disposed of to the state and to the people, and it's just a flat lie. Well, really what it was is the West is just arid. Like you can't have farms and you can't grow things in much of the West. And so people didn't settle there. And they just came in and said, look at all this land that no one's living on, no one's claimed. Mm-hmm. We're going to take it. But the problem is in the West, you don't claim the land. You claim like the grazing rights. Like my dad owns the grazing rights, the logging rights, the mining, the mineral rights. Right. And those were like deeded rights with the states. And so here the feds come in and say, well, we're taking the real estate, and therefore anything else that has rights on it, we own, we control. And it's this huge messed up legal battle that's going on, because my dad has grazing rights. He has 11 of them deeded with the state of Nevada. And then the federal government comes along and says, well, we own the land. So you can't graze here. And he's like, wait a minute.
Now that sounds bunk, because we've been dealing with this when we were moving out to West Virginia. Everybody warns you you're only buying surface rights. And then I'm like, what does that mean? And that means that if somebody owns the mineral rights, they can come onto your property in a way that's reasonable and start digging. And then I'm like, what am I buying then? Like, if I'm going to build something here, I can't have you come on with some machinery and start digging in my ground.
Yeah, so they separated that. This was all part of this. They made it so that you can separate the real estate, the land, with the mineral rights.
Right.
And that wasn't always the case. Remember the Beverly Hillbillies, where they bought this land and they were digging, and this oil comes out. Next thing you know, they're millionaires, and they moved to Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it used to be. Like if you own the land, you also own the resources underneath it or above it.
Yep. But now big corporations will buy the land, buy the mineral rights, sell the surface to you. And then in the event they actually find something, show up one day and be like, out of the way.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
to our benefit, I suppose, there's not really a whole lot going on in West Virginia in terms of minerals. So unless they discover something they didn't know about before, some new mineral.
Yeah, they're
or
So
using-
is all
no.
the coal gone then? Because I thought West Virginia was all about coal.
I think that's in the mountains, though.
Okay.
Like mountaintop and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't know for sure. What I do know is that when we were looking at land, we went over this and they were like, you don't have mineral rights, but to be honest, they've already done a sweep. Here's the report. There's nothing here. It's like mud and rock, like nothing worth anything.
But there's been a new breakthrough in underground scanning with, I think, lasers, and there's underground
LiDAR?
mapping. Yeah, it might not be LiDAR, but a form of laser underground mapping. So they might start finding crazy minerals deeper than you thought. I don't know.
They could discover something new, is what people don't realize. We may find out eventually that there's something, look, we think we know everything. We think, not literally, but we think we know. And then one day it's like, oh, hey, wait a minute. We need this kind of mineral. And it's not just this, graphene, for instance. We'll use that as an example.
Yeah, what if they just start wanting to mine the carbon? They're like, now dirt itself is a mineral we can mine.
Not that. What if they discover that there are certain carbon deposits that are more, that can easily be converted into graphene for some reason? And now all of a sudden they call it something like graph carbon deposits. And they say, well, we didn't realize this 10 years ago when we thought your property was worthless, but now, fortunately, we have the mineral rights to your property and we found there's graph carbon deposits. So we're coming on in, baby.
It's yours. And they
Yep.
they can take up to, at least in the West, Nevada and Idaho, they can take up to 49% of your surface rights to mine or to extract whatever subsurface minerals.
But with you
are there.
guys, it was just about a tortoise?
Well, yeah. So we're
Why?
in
What?
So we're like in the desert. Like if there's a desert in this, maybe the Sahara Desert is a little bit drier, but that's about it. I mean, we're talking about the Mojave Desert. Like no one wanted to live there. In fact, there was a group of people that came.
What are they grazing on? What are the cattle grazing on?
Just like there's shrubs. There's there, and certain times of the year it'll rain and there will be grass. They have to struggle from and then we have these waters because they're springs, so we have waters all around where they're just little springs, but we capture the water, so they have water troughs and they don't have to travel so far. But that area was like 150 years ago, no one wanted it. Like the people that came in before my family, they went back and reported to Brigham Young in Salt Lake and said that the place was uninhabitable, right? And then we went in there a few years later and started, making a life out of it and a living out of it. And then now, for whatever reason, well, we know why, but they, now people want it. And
what was there, like uranium or something under there?
Well, yeah, I was going to show you this. I don't know but the real reason is quite obvious of what they want. And when you look at a map of the federal control, I'll just show you for the fun of it, right? You all right with that?
Oh, is it
Definitely
minerals of some sort? Lithium?
Well, so this right here that's a map of the red is federal controlled land.
Yeah.
So you can see the West is like
They own Nevada.
Yeah, they 89%. But then
What do they want with the land?
well, this is the whole point.
Oh, this
So
is gonna be
let's
good.
look at these are the mercury and gold mines.
Yeah, here we go.
It's the same map.
Wow.
Right?
Right.
And like here's a uranium.
Exactly.
Totally.
It's the same map.
Called it.
And that's
The
what
uranium.
they want. They're controlling the natural resources and they want to make people think that they're doing it to preserve it.
Why don't they just come up to you guys and be like, here's $10 million. Have a nice day.
Because they didn't think they had to. They thought that they could come in and just take it because they've done it to hundreds and hundreds of other ranchers and loggers and miners and everything else. in the
I mean,
West.
look, they just print the money anyway. They should just walk up and be like, here's $10 million.
Yeah.
Carry
But
on.
if they do it to us, then they have to do it to everybody else. And they found a better way. They just run you out. They
well,
bring in
apparently not now. I mean, at the very least, they should have. They haven't come to you since then and been like, okay, how much do you want?
Actually, they tried that with my dad, but the Constitution, which I know they don't follow it, and why do they care? But they actually did. They tried to get the county to buy my dad's rights, and my dad refused. He didn't want to sell them.
Right. 'Cause it's
And
state.
so, and I'll say this though,
But they can't have offered a good enough amount.
No,
right?
they offered him $75,000.
Right.
So, which is the price of a pickup right now. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your family's history, everything, your legacy, your farm, it's gone. Here's $75K. It's like,
yeah, but it was in the attitude. Well, we're going to take it anyway. So here, this is an easy way out for you. And
Wow.
my dad was like, absolutely no. So
what if they came and said $2 million? Would you guys pack up?
no. So no.
No way.
My dad has been offered because he has a lot of water rights, like
Yeah.
actual coming down the river too, and private property there. And so he's been offered a decent amount of, millions of dollars,
Wow.
and he's just not, he doesn't want to sell. I mean, for whatever reason, he has his reasons, he's not going to sell.
That's
Has
smart.
he considered taking like hundreds of thousands of balloons and putting them in his chimney and then flying the house away when
Yeah.
they try to take your property? I saw a story about that once.
It's crazy. It's crazy what's going on.
What happened? What was the resolution? I heard that the ranch, like the story goes, you guys were like, no, we're not giving it. They came on the property. There was a shootout, and then
So there wasn't a shootout, but what happened, this was during Obama, 2014, and he thought he had enough political power and he had basically an internal bureaucratic army, and he sent them down upon my family. It was the FBI, which we didn't know that at first, but FBI, Bureau of Land Management, U.S. Forest Service.
That's BLM,
Yeah.
the other BLM.
Bureau of Land
before it was
Management.
cool.
That's right. And,
Before it was cool.
and they came down with a 213 federal armed, basically army, and locked the ranch down. They began to kill the cattle from helicopters, burying them in mass
Whoa.
graves, destroy the water infrastructure, destroy the corrals. And meanwhile, they were threatening that this would be another Waco or Ruby Ridge if we resisted.
Yeah.
So it took us a while to gain enough courage to start to like confront them and stand up to them, and people started coming.
So
And then
they killed your animals.
they killed like 60 head and buried them in mass graves.
How?
Yeah.
With a helicopter?
Shooting them with helicopters? Yeah.
How did they
I mean,
destroy
this
the
all
water?
sounds like explicitly illegal. Like
Well-
they're committing crimes.
Yeah, but
That's
they
the definition of government.
yeah, but but they also claimed, they were saying we were trespassing.
Yeah, but I don't think like if someone's cow wandered on my property, I can't kill it.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
the
the
federal
cow-
government does what they want to do.
Yeah.
All right, right.
They do what they want to do.
If it was a
you know.
bull, maybe, and like went on my land and like
Was
I'd like
destroying something or
yeah.
something like
But
that,
if there's
you
like
know.
a cow, a couple of cow walking by, I think it's no one would find it reasonable that you start mowing them down from a helicopter.
Yeah,
They'd
I
be like,
agree.
"Yo, dude, what are you doing?"
Especially if they're
I
branded.
agree.
I mean, no, look, right now we got the story with Lauren Boebert, where the Democrats accused her of killing a dog. And then, like, you read for 10 seconds into the story and you're like, oh, the dog broke onto her property and was attacking her goats. Then you read it was actually her other neighbor who killed the dog because the dog had actually attacked a bunch of animals. And Lauren's like, I had nothing to do with this.
Talk about defamation, right?
Yeah, seriously. But I mean, in that capacity, it's like, you've got something attacking your animals. You protect your property, you protect your animals.
Absolutely. But that's what was going.
No,
going
this
on
is
here.
them just killing a bunch of cows
Yeah, they
for no
were
reason.
just killing them, burying them in mass graves, causing mayhem, literally. And then we started. So the interesting thing is that they set up these areas that they called First Amendment areas. They were like miles away from the ranch, and they were like these construction mesh. The orange construction
Oh,
mesh.
yeah. Freedom cages.
Yeah, and they said that if you're going to protest or demonstrate or anything, our actions, you have to do it in there. That's your First Amendment area. So of course we didn't do that. So they started sicking dogs on us and tasing us and throwing us to the ground and doing all this stuff. Well, people were filming it, and they started sending it all over the country. And next thing you know, we got hundreds and then thousands of people coming.
You know what this story reminds me of? Avatar. You guys know
does.
that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, where the noble, true landowners are minding their own business on their big tree, and the evil government comes in to steal all those minerals beneath that tree, just killing everybody.
That's right.
Yeah. That's the
Cameron.
story here.
Yeah.
The only thing is, it doesn't really work towards their Hollywood narrative because it's a bunch of like white ranchers, I guess, and not Native Americans.
Yeah, that's why we weren't so popular, right? Because we were just there and evidently
Colonizers.
Yeah. Well, and I do say this all the time. Like, I know when I was born there was no Native Americans other than other ranchers. There was other ranchers that were actually Native Americans that ranched in there, and they were pushed out and driven out just like
By the feds.
the rest of us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So-
another story about the colonial patriarchy government kicking out, the honest worker, right?
That's right. Yeah.
It's not a racist system. It's just hungry for money and resources.
Power. And there's this like unholy alliance between those who want to control the resources, make money and all of that, build their bureaucracies, all that power stuff that we know about, and these globalist environmentalists, the green religion. And they've like locked arms in basically coming and trying to control and drive mankind off the land.
That's very telling, and I think that correlates with what you're saying about going after saying it's for the tortoise.
Yeah,
but
that's
actually
exactly.
going for the gold.
That's why. So you've got, the global environmentalists that are like saying we got to save the tortoise, which it's all based upon lies, and then you have those who want to control the resources, the subsurface mineral rights and the land and so forth, saying like, well, come with us and we'll stop people from using us, and then they take it for themselves, and that's what's been happening all over the West.
Is it like a tortoise haven or something? You guys got a lot of them?
Well, I mean, there's a decent amount of desert tortoise down there, but the thing of it is the true studies actually showed that when there's cattle there was more desert tortoise, because their main staple was manure.
Right.
They actually ate the
Turtles ate the whole.
Oh yeah, they dig through it.
Yeah, the cow pies, they'd go in it and they would dig it and they would thrive off of it. So when you had more cattle, you had more desert tortoise, but they didn't care about that. They didn't care about that.
I was going to say that because it seems to me that cattle coming in, it's going to expand the ecosystem. That the manure is going to result in more growth. It's going to deposit, minerals or whatever, and then just result in a more robust ecosystem, albeit still small and desert-like. But
Tim, I just want to talk about this fact here. The U.S. government literally tested 1,032 nuclear weapons on American soil. This is a government that does not care about any kind of natural environment or anything. The U.S. military-industrial complex, the U.S. war machine, is one of the biggest polluters by definition, right. and of course that's just being fed and pushed
and
around.
in Nevada, by the way.
But why did they test those nuclear weapons? To protect the tortoise.
Right.
Because they knew that Vladimir Putin
That
and
makes total
Khrushchev
sense.
and Lenin and all those guys going way back, what they were really after, the Soviets, killing turtles.
They needed to nuke the tortoise to save the tortoise. It's pretty simple.
Gotta blow them up.
Yeah. The federal,
Too many of them.
In my opinion, the federal government owns 28% of all land in the United States. That is 28% too much, in my own personal opinion. And those free speech zones are absolutely absurd. And I think they were ruled unconstitutional. They were originally started by George W. Bush when he was trying to stop protest against his regime and his larger anti-war protests that, of course, people were protesting against. And they just were like, well, you can't really protest, but you can in our little regulated areas where, of course, you don't have any speech at all. You're just you're just cattle yourself, which is absolutely crazy. So, yeah, with the people launching nuclear bombs on American soil, I'm not going to be lectured about how they need to be there to save the environment. That's bunk. That's bull crap.
We'll come back to a little bit of this, but I want to jump to this political story here. We have a tweet from Eric Swalwell, and this might be one of the funniest bits I've ever seen. This makes
great.
Saturday Night Live look like, amateur improv hour at a local college comedy club. MAGA Republicans want women arrested for having an abortion. This is what that looks like. All right, let's play the video. It's got 2.5 million views as of 24 hours ago. I hope you guys are ready to enjoy this. Oh wait, I gotta fix the audio. I always do that because before the show we switch the output.
Yeah.
All right, there it is. There it is.
You're weird.
He is weird, but cute.
Gross.
Mary Anderson,
Yes.
I have a warrant for your arrest.
Arrest for what?
Penal Code 243 violation. Unlawful termination of a pregnancy.
You gotta be kidding me.
That is my personal business.
That's for the courts to decide, ma'am. Your medical records have been subpoenaed, and Dr. Landry's already in custody.
No, my God, you can't just.
You will have to submit to a physical examination.
Why What? By who?
No one's touching
Sir,
my wife.
get that.
They pull their guns out.
Man, turn around.
my God.
Put your hands behind your back. Now.
Why is this happening? Love you, honey bear.
The acting, wow.
We're just enforcing the law here.
Elections have consequences. Vote Democrat on November 8th. Stop Republicans from criminalizing abortion everywhere.
Oh, there's more.
Protect women's rights and freedom.
Please don't do this.
Eric Swalwell. You know what I love? Like in the beginning, when he's doing like near the baby's mouth, and then the wife is like, he's cute, and the kid's like, she's gross. I was thinking like, the reason why they can't get the acting right on what a family looks like is because these people don't have families.
Yeah.
So they're just like, I think this is what it looks like. I also want to point out that the first reply you can see is from Adrienne Curry. Shout out. People cannot afford food, gas, or even their own homes, and this is your strategy? LOL. No, seriously, like the production value is so bad. Yo, the cops, if they ever did show, would be like, man, we have a warrant for your arrests. Come with me. They wouldn't be like, you're going to get a medical exam. We've arrested your doctor. They wouldn't say any of those things. They'd say you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say or do can be used against you in a court of law. Please place your hands behind your back. And that would be it. And everyone would, the husband would be like, oh, what's going on? And then she'd get arrested. That's about it.
Would you be arresting people, Ammon?
Yeah.
So I look at it like, okay, there's a little baby right there, eating, and what if they decided they were going to kill that little baby? Then wouldn't it be justified?
Well, that's her personal business.
Well, yeah, I guess that between them two, right? Like, you know, but that to me, that's how I view it. And you know, the more I look into abortion and the more I look into really what it is murdering babies. That's what it is. And so, yeah, it should be enforced.
Do you think from the point of conception at any point, abortion should be made illegal, penalty, prison?
I believe that life begins at conception. I believe that is the correct point in which you would determine it a life, and then that the state's job is to protect it.
Should the mother go to prison as well as the doctor, like in this video from Eric Swalwell?
Yeah, it's a sad, unfortunate thing, and it's going to be very difficult to try to get like society to switch their minds on this, that it's not okay to kill a baby. And it's going to be hard. I think we've got to be somewhat, you know, I hate saying this, but you know, there's a transition that you have to go through, but it is not okay to kill babies. I mean, if you like the contrast of this, I guess, because this really isn't that great a production, but just go and watch. I mean, it's terrible to watch, but just go watch a video of an abortion.
I know what you need to do. You need to make your own version of this, but like the mom has like a mustache, she's twirling, like, I'm going to kill this baby. And then the husband's like, yes. But no, I mean, if that's the case, a lot of conservatives say they would never go as far as arresting the mother for this. It's the provider who kills the baby who would be punished, not the mother. But you're saying you think the mother is involved.
Well, I mean, if justice was to be served, it's those who had the intent to kill.
What about exceptions? Do you think there should be exceptions?
So I think conception should be termed, because there is where you have where the baby gets, or gets in the excuse me, I'm trying to get in the fallopian tube, and that
ectopic pregnancies.
Yeah, there you go. That's the term. And that will kill a mother.
But I think those are considered non-viable as it is, and so those aren't. At least for a long time, that wasn't considered an abortion.
And then in vitro is another thing, like, you know, because they're actually taking the sperm and the egg out, and they're fertilizing it, if you will, and then they're putting it. And so some people are like, well, that's conceptionist too. So I think that it needs to be determined, or as part of the definition must be that it's in the womb.
There's challenges here, because I understand what you're saying, and I lean more on the traditional pro-choice side. The issue I take with it, I also view as a libertarian perspective, in that there are circumstances. There's challenges here, I'll admit. So let me walk through this. There are circumstances where, if a woman does have a legitimate risk or problem with the pregnancy, how do you get through that effectively? Does the state have to get involved and issue a permit to allow it to happen? I mean, these things can become overwhelmingly complicated. And then what is an actual health matter for the mother is now an issue of the state and certification or permitting and stuff like that. I have an issue with that.
Well, so
I do understand, though, just to walk through this, I think abortion is wrong. I think too many women today are using it as contraception. I think the mainstream left, the modern left, is pro-abortion, and that makes there's no middle ground for how we actually deal with an extremely complicated, and let's be real, there is no middle ground. I mean, you either are going to create a circumstance where women will get elective abortions as birth control, even though we think it's wrong, or you'll penalize the woman or arrest the doctor or the woman.
So, and that's why, I intend on declaring life begins at conception and making that the point. Because ultimately, it's a determination of when life begins. Because then you have to say, well, then it's not okay to take the life, right? I mean, if life begins at this point, then it's not okay to take the life. Is it, we all agree that after the baby is born, it's not okay to take their life, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I don't believe that's when life begins. I believe that it begins at conception. And so therefore the state's job is to protect that life. And ultimately, when it comes down to like a court proceeding or a trial or a prosecution, it comes down to intent.
What about in the case of rape?
So I'll admit to you that I did at one time believe that should be an exception. But I do not believe that there is a right way to take a life.
I hear what you're saying. I understand the moral position. The challenge I have in this circumstance, let me pause first because people get heated on this one. Well, let me just say
we'll get through this.
We'll get through it.
We'll get through it.
A woman who, through no fault of her own, is raped and forced into carrying a baby. She was completely responsible in every right and was victimized. I don't see how the state can determine that you have to provide your body to another living person. Now, I do understand it is extremely rare that this is the case in terms of abortion. This is the problem I have. 92% of abortion is elective or no reason given, just contraception, contraceptive abortions.
Non-medical.
That to me is insane. Mm-hmm. But the issue I run into is the government being like, now I know you were victimized, but we, the state, have determined your body and blood now must be shared with another person.
So this is the reality of it, though. The reality of it is those who get an abortion suffer more emotionally and many other ways because they got an abortion versus those who actually keep the baby. They may give it up for adoption, whatever, but they are healed more by going through that pregnancy and having that baby. It's difficult.
Yeah, but that's not a legal or moral argument. I mean, that I can't understand. I can't understand that argument. I mean, if there's a woman who says the government will not force me to carry my rapist's child, like, you might think she'd be better off. But if she's saying if she's going to kill herself,
again,
I know they're rare.
It's the right of that child to live. That's where it becomes difficult, right? Because we're talking about a life here,
That's
and
why
we're saying that
there's no middle.
Just because of the circumstance that you were, if you were created, if you will, now because of that circumstance, we're going to take your life, and that I don't agree with that. I think that the better way is to side with life. That's where I end up.
Seamus Coughlin of Freedom Tunes made the point. I believe this was the point you made, Seamus. So if I'm wrong, forgive me. But he said the detriment to the female in this scenario is less than the detriment to taking the life.
Yeah.
So his point was basically, you know what, this woman might now have to suffer for another 9 months, but suffering for 9 months is not nearly as bad as terminating the life of another being. I still run into this. I don't like government, and I don't like that idea. But I certainly understand.
Believe me, I'm right there with you, and
It's tough, huh?
But man, when you watch which is terrible. I've never been able to watch a video to the end with it when it comes to abortion. I can't. I can't.
Well, this is
and so then that's what changed my mind. That's what changed my mind.
If a woman has a miscarriage, do you think there should be an investigation?
No, that's a natural thing that happens.
But what if she like jumps on the ground and kills the baby and then calls it a miscarriage?
If there was intent, that's what all crimes are based upon, intent. Like if you intentionally tried to kill the baby, then the state would probably have some jurisdiction there. But
like how would they know unless they investigate?
Yeah, but it's just like any other crime. How do you know unless you investigate? I mean,
and they often just don't investigate.
We're not talking about
we're talking about precedent.
We're not talking about creating an entire system with all these exceptions and everything. We're talking about, we already have murder laws. We already have these laws, and they're based upon intent. And basically saying that life begins at conception. And so the state's duty is to protect that life.
Well, not all life. You kill mosquitoes, but you're talking about humans or people. Persons, and the argument is living tissue isn't necessarily a person. So like a sperm isn't a person, an egg isn't a person, a sperm-egg combo isn't necessarily a person in my opinion, until it's thinking and has feelings and emotions and has a sense of self. Other than that, it's just like growing tissue.
Yeah, but with that, I agree. That's the argument of like when life begins, right? But I mean, I have 6 children, and a newborn is not very aware of themselves.
Not when life begins. Life begins, sperm is alive, eggs are alive. It's always living stuff. But whether or not it's a person, whether or not it's murder depends on if it's a person. Because if you kill a cow, you're not murdering it.
Well, conception is where, the sperm and the egg come together and they begin to grow as one, if you will. And I believe that that's when life begins. As far as, I mean, I get, but I don't want to get into semantics,
Yeah,
I think life begins. It's always living. Your sperm is living. But it's not about killing life. I don't think that's the
I just
argument.
want to say, personally, I'm pro-life, but I'm extremely skeptical of giving police officers more reasons to arrest people. How would you handle it as a governor? What would be a punishment? Like, what would you do to a woman?
Well, we already have murder laws.
Right.
So
we already have the laws
but that's
on the
life.
books.
That's a life sentence.
No, not always.
Predominantly,
depending on the severity of the charge, the degree. There's 3rd degree. I think there's even 4th degree in some states.
Right.
And the laws, the laws are there for as a deterrent, right? I mean, that's really what they're there for. They're a deterrent, and so this would be a deterrent for people. The
problem is if you don't enforce laws, no one takes them seriously, and it wouldn't just be a deterrent if you're enforcing.
Well, I think there's actually a much simpler breakdown of what happens. The end result is abortion clinics just cease to exist. The overall, the amount of abortions that happen will drop to a ridiculously low amount. They'll still happen. The state probably won't be arresting and prosecuting doctors because they'll be done in secret. And there's a lot of problems with that the left brings up. But in reality, as much as the left wants to create the scenario where the police show up and they're like, your doctor's been arrested, that probably will never happen. Extremely rare. Something that people need to understand is that people can go online and admit to committing serious crimes and post the evidence, and the government still doesn't go after them. The reality to this life, to this country, is that they do not want you in jail. First of all, we all know what's going on with the woke left in these big cities, releasing people like crazy. Yeah. But there's overcrowding. The courts don't want to deal with it. Look, I once got arrested for skateboarding, and the judge was pissed. I show up for court, and he puts his glasses on, he looks at it, and he's like, what? He's like, come on, my docket's full already, and you get out of my courtroom. So what really happens with these laws is, My prediction on if they actually did criminalize abortion nationwide as like a murder charge, Planned Parenthood clinics would just cease to exist, and it would not be that big of an issue.
But you'd see miscarriages spike.
Well, I think
I don't think so.
I
really don't think so.
Oh yeah,
I think
babies keep dying,
the
man.
whole culture's
That's
going to shift. Everyone's going to stop having sex like it's not a big deal. It's going to be a very, very different thing from the ground up.
Just make one law and that'll change entire.
I think we'll realize
culture.
you can't do that.
It will have a massive
joking,
impact.
by the way.
I mean, look at there are questions about when what can make culture shift. For one, the entirety of this country just all of a sudden decided that the marijuana laws didn't matter, and people were just going about breaking the law and making movies about how funny it was. So I'm not convinced outright the culture would change, but Planned Parenthood and abortion clinics would cease to exist overnight if there was a nationwide ban. Yeah. And of course, many of the left and pro-choice, they freak out about that idea. That's a reality. There will still be it's not going to be back alleys with coat hangers. It's going to be private underground facilities.
It'll be chemicals. They'll mail
Probably,
stuff.
yep,
The people will send stuff in the mail, little pills. You take it. There's no trace of it. There's going to be a huge spike in miscarriages.
No, there's
people,
not.
Are they just going to pretend like they're not doing secret abortions when they're having miscarriages?
And Ian, what you misunderstand is
come on.
A spike in miscarriages requires the women to report the miscarriages are happening.
Yeah.
So if you
unreported stuff.
So if you mean women. So miscarriages won't spike because women will be inducing abortion and not telling anybody. So abortions will go down. Some abortions will remain. Miscarriages won't, because women are not going to report their illegal abortions.
But how is that stopping the ethics of killing the baby?
Well,
that doesn't change things.
One is the state's not paying for it, and two is there is a law there in place. It's a moral thing as
stops
well.
elective abortion. I mean,
exactly.
it stops the overwhelming majority of elective abortions.
That's a lot of that stuff is safer than taking pills and killing the
okay,
kid
but
in
hold on.
utero.
Look. You're getting me to argue for him now.
To say that you don't think abortions would or that miscarriages would spike is like, I mean, think outside the box on this one.
Let me walk you through this again. A woman who has who induces an abortion illegally would not report it, right?
I don't know how that works.
So she would go to the cops and be like, I broke the law, arrest me?
Well, is it known that she's pregnant? Do her neighbors know? They're like, she was pregnant a week ago.
How would they know if she's
whisper? If you're, and then the government's like, "We'll pay."
You're making up scenarios.
Also, guys, it's important to note here: Dave Portnoy is going to be really pissed if this goes through. And then number two,
he's like, "What?"
A lot of people will go to Canada and to Mexico, like already a lot of Mexicans, like a lot of Americans are already going for their health care as well. Okay. So that's another component.
So the interesting thing is on the other side of this, I want to completely deregulate the medical industry.
Interesting.
And but why is abortion different? Because it's life. And if there was one thing that the state is supposed to do, it is supposed to protect life. And so I lean very heavily on the libertarian side. Absolutely. So
this
but
is
not with abortion.
I think there's an argument Ben Shapiro has made as well, that if you're libertarian and you believe in very limited government, there is one thing that most people believe government should do, and it's protect life.
That's right.
But then it's the war machine. Like, it's the killer. Government's main job is to protect life, but it's also to kill and to make murder legal so that they can kill.
No, that's not something libertarians agree with. My point is making is
the
that
government's function.
Libertarians are like, the government should protect life, not be actively taking it. And most libertarians, I think, overwhelming majority, are anti-war and don't want the U.S. involved in the killing in military-industrial complex.
I'm raising my hand for that. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah. So, like, if the government's going to protect the life of a baby by destroying the life of a mother, I just don't see the protection racket.
Hold on. We got to stop right there. The point that I brought up, that I reiterated for Seamus, is the mother will live and the baby will live, or the baby dies and the mother will live. You see the issue?
Yeah, you're talking about like no abortion versus abortion,
right? In an abortion, someone dies, someone lives. With no abortion, the mother suffers for an extended period, assuming the mother is suffering, and then the baby is born, but both live. That's the moral argument that Seamus made to me. I'm not saying I agree with this stuff.
Yeah, I think the idea that more life is better is kind of erroneous too, because its quality of life is super important.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, but you don't take life just because you're not going to have good quality. That's not justification to take.
I'll just shout out Seamus again. He made a cartoon where there's a poor kid sitting on his bed and he's like malnourished and everything's grainy and gross, and Democrat man shows up. And then he's like, "Help, Democrat man, I'm hungry and poor." And he goes, "I'll save you," and then disappears and then reappears instantly. And then he goes, What did you do? And he goes, "I went back 12 years to convince your mother to get an abortion." And then the kid goes, "What? No." And then just disappears. Like, it's an interesting point Seamus makes when look, we hear a lot of really stupid arguments from the left as to why abortion should be allowed. Like, kids are poor. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure if you go to a poor kid and say you should be dead, they're going to be like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
But I think there are real challenges here. And mine mainly stems from the government mandating someone's body be shared with another person, because I don't see a moral way to resolve that. I understand the point Seamus made that I brought up several times. So without running in circles again, let's jump to the next story because this is not something we can solve.
Good conversation.
Yeah, but it's good, and it is really difficult. But let's jump to this story because it's the apocalypse, my friends. The BBC prepares secret scripts for possible use in winter blackouts. Wonderful. Scripts set out how corporation will reassure public in event of major power loss. Well, if you live in a city as dense as London and there's no power, good luck. I don't know what they would do. That's a massively dense city with no energy. How long until the water stops flowing? How long until there's no food? Everything spoils.
In the dead of winter, especially when you can't heat your pipes, the water is going to, of course, create so much damage all throughout, the city center. It's absolutely mind-boggling to understand how fragile our current civilization is and what kind of a big mess our politicians are getting us into deliberately. We have to understand, these are not policies that were just accidentally created. These were policies that were fomented, that were built, that were tested on other societies and are being introduced right now, all under the umbrella of the Great Reset, all under the umbrella of taking care of the environment. And meanwhile, they are deliberately limiting energy to people so they could limit human potential. This is all a deliberate plan, and people have to really stand up for themselves, because if they don't, the mess is extremely serious. It's already going to hit everyone very, very hard very soon.
I just want to, I point this out whenever we talk about blackouts, but diabetics are at serious risk because insulin needs to be refrigerated. If power goes out, this is seriously bad for people who are diabetic. They're going to lose their lives. Now, if it's in winter, I don't know how cold it gets in London. Perhaps it will be cold enough outside where they can get a cooler. Maybe they can take snow or something, and they
London.
Yeah, they can keep their medicine, their insulin at the right temperature.
Yeah.
But even outside of that, in the winter when you can't heat your homes.
Yeah.
Food's gonna spoil. I suppose though in winter you put the food outside,
Yeah,
it won't be as bad.
But then you have hotter summers every year in London now.
I wonder though, is the reason they're concerned about blackouts is because of heating your home? Is that the principal consumption of energy?
Yeah,
because they don't have air conditioning in London. It's terrible.
So it reeks of like this environmentalist, again, this global environmentalist. I don't know, conspiracy almost. But what's behind it? Like, why are they saying that there's going to be blackouts?
War.
I mean, it's a secret script, right? For possible, but is it war? Is it?
It's
lack of energy.
Yeah. So with the war in Russia, Nord Stream, they just posted video from the Nord Stream attack. It's an attack now at this point. 165 feet of the pipeline was blown off and is missing. That is not an accident. That is a huge chunk. Yeah. That's massive. It's, what is that? 165 feet? Is that half a football field?
Yeah. I don't think so. I don't know.
More than half, yeah.
More than half. So it's 300 feet, right? 100 yards?
Yeah, like 70, 60 feet. No, it's less than half. What did you say,
165.
Okay.
More than half.
Half a football field.
And was it only one spot? I thought it was, I think there were a couple different spots.
They maybe the hits were in different spots and then it caused it to fall off or whatever.
They know what they hit it with?
No. Well, we don't. I mean, they might.
I wonder if they lined it with nanothermite and melted it off.
Saying, we know you did this. We know you did this.
Why would Putin blow up his own pipeline?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
So they cut off the flow into Europe. Russia does. Russia starts, now we got this report. I've only seen it from South African sources, but you were mentioning this, Serge, that Saudi Arabia wants to join BRICS. What's the Ramaphosa? Is that
Ramaphosa?
Yeah. He's the current president. So you saw that story. Is that true?
My family at chat had it going on in the WhatsApp forever ago, but
he's saying Saudi Arabia wants to join BRICS.
Yes,
like in the recent past.
Yes.
So apparently he posted on social media saying this is going to happen. If that happens, that is apocalyptic. Already, the Saudis are cutting oil production. Russia is a part of OPEC Plus. This means that they're going to keep being able to sell gas at a premium. It's going to sell to China. China's going to sell to Europe. Europe is getting strangled out come winter. We already saw the videos of Italy, of cafes in Italy, candlelight, cash transactions.
Remember when Texas got so cold that because of the energy or the power went out and all of that happened in Texas. I mean, that's Texas. We're talking about London here. We're talking about a lot colder, and the mayhem that it caused in Texas was, they're still recovering from that.
Is the war worth it?
Well, it's not just
is
the war.
Is Ukraine worth it?
It's not just the war. It's a lot of the policies that they've been laying forward that has been deliberately denying people energy. And this is not a problem that's only going to be around for the next few months. This is a problem that's going to be around for the next few years. The Telegraph is reporting that the National Grid warns of a 3-year energy crisis as a national emergency. It is something that they cannot get away from. They just started to announce that they're going to be fracking inside of the United Kingdom. But energy is key to human success, to human prosperity. And again, there is an agenda to limit that specifically. In Ukraine right now, 1/3 of the power stations have been destroyed, as the World Health Organization is, of course, warning about a brutal winter ahead. There's going to be a lot of ramifications because of the foreign policy, because of the domestic policy that has led us to this age where we're literally going back to the Stone Age. Why are we doing this? Well, all in the name of helping the environment, and it's not helping the environment. It's not helping anyone. We're just literally buying, passed over gas from Russia to China that they're just shipping to Europe right now, which is only making sure that people lose more of their money and can't afford to even live and afford a basic lifestyle.
So let me ask you, Ammon, you've been ranching for a long time. You've got animals. Do you have more than cattle? You've probably got...
yeah, but, of course, horses and chickens and that. But mostly, cattle is where we make our money off of.
If the apocalypse happened right now, would your family be all right?
Yeah, we'd be fine.
Totally fine?
Yeah.
Would you even notice, obviously you notice in the news, but would it impact your daily food consumption?
Amazon wouldn't show up,
Yeah.
And so there'd be that. Of course, we would be affected, but we would have food, we'd have supplies.
But what do you do about toilet paper? That's why everybody lost their minds and started fighting in supermarkets.
It's
Bidets.
It's just rock.
You use your hands and a little bit of soap.
Rock.
Nice smooth rock.
Rock or a leaf, like a big leaf or something like that, right?
Yeah. But but in all seriousness, I ask because it's funny. I mean, I think people in London would start eating each other within a few days.
Yeah.
I'm okay realistically within like a week or so.
So we might just look at London, what's going on over there. Well, in Idaho, good old conservative Idaho, there's the Democrats there, along with the several establishment Republicans. They're trying to remove 5 dams. Hydropower, that's a primary source of energy.
They're trying to get rid of that.
Trying to get rid of them.
Why?
For the salmon. They believe they say that the salmon's got to go.
But this is green energy. This is exactly what they wanted.
Well, I know.
they call it green
none of it
energy.
makes sense.
Well,
None
it
of
makes sense if their goal is to get rid of people and to
That's
reduce
exactly
population.
Right. That's the only way it makes sense.
Right.
I've said it many, many times. You're exactly right.
Everything they do, look, the conspiracy theory, as I mentioned, would be the intent to reduce population. We know Bill Gates has given speeches on reducing population growth. So we know he's concerned about there being too many people. If you look at everything they do, take intent out of it, don't think conspiracy, just say, hey, all those things result in less people.
That's
There you go.
exactly right.
Telling the Netherlands to stop farming when there's a food shortage looming, shutting down power plants when there's an energy crisis.
Telling Sri Lanka to get rid of fertilizers.
That's exactly right. It's all. That's why I say it stinks of that globalist environmental movement, and it's a
How dare you.
depopulation agenda.
This is the problem with global environmentalism is if they want to stop oil production because it's dirty. So then we run out of electricity. People get desperate. They go to war. Nuclear bombs go off, create a nuclear winter with 3 years of no sunlight. All the farms go dead. Talk about destroying the environment, environmentalists. Nuclear war is the worst thing for the environment that could possibly happen right now. Next to an asteroid.
But peace is
meteor strike.
dangerous. Peace is dangerous. Didn't you see the
At
article?
some point, you just got to burn the coal and then recapture the carbon.
Well, I got to correct you, Ian. They're not just trying to get rid of oil. They're just buying it from Saudi Arabia instead of domestically exploring it and getting it out of the ground here and importing it. Or they're doing it from China, just like they're doing in Europe.
And that confirms the South African president, Cyril Ramaphosa, did say, this is from 7 hours ago, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia did express Saudi Arabia's desire to be part of BRICS. And
Yo, that's
also,
apocalyptic.
That's from en.trend.az. And then I also saw that BRICS expects Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey to join the group.
So what would that be then? Egypt, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, they need a
BRICS.
new... It'd be BRICS Plus. Let's just stop with the letters. But I mean, Turkey is Russia's outlet into the Mediterranean, so that makes sense there. Egypt,
No NATO.
Saudi Arabia is just
Turkey
they're
leave.
protecting the Suez Canal. They want that
Right.
trade route into the Mediterranean. And
So where does the
Indian
first
Ocean.
nuke land? Because I'm chilling, you know.
I don't think it'll happen, but it'll be an airburst if it did.
Well, yeah, I know, of course, but like over what city?
Kharkiv?
Kiev?
I think.
No, think false flag first.
Not Kiev. Absolutely not. I think.
Why not Kiev though?
Too much civilian population.
I know, but shock and awe.
Yeah, but that's a lot of death on
I think
your
it's gonna
hands.
happen. It
and
would
that's
destroy
going
the
to be-
entire population.
There's a lot of military equipment and a lot of military
historical.
infrastructure in Kharkiv.
Isn't Kiev and Kharkiv are like historically important to the Russian people? Is there not a thing?
Yeah, there's a lot of history there. Yes,
Yeah.
there's a lot of blood there. There's a lot of suffering there. There's a lot
Wasn't
of
Kiev the
genocide.
capital of Russia like hundreds of years ago or something?
That's what I was asking about.
Kiev and Rus.
Sure.
yeah.
I think so.
There you go.
Kiev and Rus.
But I don't think. I think Putin wants the Donbass region to connect to Crimea. He
Yes,
wants to
definitely.
control more of the Black Sea.
Yeah, of course.
So
Yeah, I don't think he wants a destruction of the world. That's for sure.
no, who does? We live here.
Right.
You know, that's why I always find supervillains funny. It's like I'm going to destroy the planet. It's like okay, you live here, dude.
We need Zelensky.
I think another possibility is that he might just go to the Black Sea and just explode something there as a show of force, as a show of power. I think that's also one possibility, just to be like, look what I could do. Let's negotiate. So again, lots of negotiations, lots of it's a big chess game geopolitically that's unfolding right now. But I don't see Kiev. I see a major key piece of the war machine being affected here. And I think also, as you mentioned before, there's a big possibility of a false flag attack, since, of course, there's even U.S.-made nuclear weapons that have gone missing. So there's also a lot of Russian-made nuclear weapons that were disappeared and are missing. So there's a big potential here for someone, a bad actor, to come in and to create a lot of chaos that they would benefit off of.
What if he nukes, like just sends like 100 nukes right into Antarctica? Just like
Mars, the Martian poles.
Well, no, the thing about
he did it.
Antarctica is that the ice is all on a landmass, so that it actually would raise ocean levels if the ice broke off and went into the water. What if he just went like full comic book villain, was like, you know, I'm not going to lose, so I won't nuke you. I'll nuke Antarctica, and then and they're like, oh no, and there's no defensive capabilities there. So you know, what do you do? Yeah. I mean, it is kind of silly, but there's things like that. You got to think outside the box. He could say, okay, I won't nuke you. You can't retaliate against me, but I can hit the ice caps.
Dude, I watched the nuclear winter. You got to watch a video on nuclear winter, because what happens is
Oh, yeah.
the nukes go off, black clouds over the everything for 3 years, and then it just covers the entire planet.
Yeah, and the radiation is there for
insane.
hundreds of thousands of years.
The plants
and-
all die.
So
Yeah.
nuts. Like, unless they plan on going underground with canned food for 3 years and then coming back up and being the ruler of a dead planet, I don't understand the methodology.
Bro,
Except-
Raven Rock. Like, I look, I wouldn't be surprised if they have underground farms.
Oh, yeah, probably they do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we need to appeal to Zelensky right now, because he's the guy that will listen to the American. Like, he's an actor, he's an entertainer, he likes being loved. I don't think he's a horrible guy. Like, at first I wanted to hate him because of his, but like the position
Dude, he's a
he's in.
puppet, come on.
He's a puppet president,
Yeah,
but like
come
at the same time, it's in his lap. If he wants to negotiate with Putin right now,
No, it
he's
isn't.
The only person on earth that can make this happen is Volodymyr Zelensky.
I disagree.
Who else could start the negotiations though? Because it's up to him.
NATO.
And
The United
Putin.
States and NATO.
You could say that Biden and Putin could do it.
Today, also, the European Union passed a law that allows Ukrainian soldiers to be trained in Europe, and they will be trained specifically in Poland and in Germany. And again, a lot of people don't realize this proxy conflict could last a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
It could last 10 years. It could last 20 years. When we look at these kind of sectarian conflicts with, the borders so close to each other, they escalate very quickly. They de-escalate very slowly, and the conflict is always going to be there. So this is something that's going to be a hotbed for a lot of trouble for the future. So, again, negotiations, peace deals, being able to come together. No one is going to be fully happy, but I think we should still push for them two coming together. But the United States, NATO, has to be a part of those conversations, because they're the ones fueling this war. They're the ones financing this war. They're the ones making this war possible. And that's why they need to be at the table. They need to negotiate.
Because if Zelensky went off on his own and was like, I'm going to negotiate, you think NATO would have him removed from power?
Well, they were very close to having negotiations. They were very close to Zelensky and Putin even coming together. They had a meeting. They had a date that the two people were supposed to come together. And then Western leaders came to Zelensky, said, no, you're not going to meet with Putin. No, you're not going to negotiate with him. No, you're not going to have any kind of peace deals here. And Zelensky said, okay.
They actually made a law.
Here's what I think would happen. If Zelensky came out right now and gave a speech and he said, I'm going to meet with Vladimir Putin to negotiate an end to this conflict for the sake of preserving the world and preventing World War III. Half an hour would go by, And CNN would go, breaking news, Zelensky was killed in a car bomb. It was Putin who did it, exploiting the fact that he was trying to negotiate peace, showing just how evil he really was. The new second in command, vice president who's taken over, is even more war hawkish. And then it's going to cut to a guy who's going to be like, I love America. And there you go. That's my prediction.
Or they could just use the CGI hologram version of them. You know, who knows? There's a lot of different possibilities, but there's a lot of psyops. There's a lot of disinformation. There's a lot of propaganda. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of life loss. A lot of innocent people are getting screwed over or getting hurt. We need to stop that immediately. And sadly, all we have are neocon, warmongering, bloodthirsty war hawks who are saying more war, more death, more destruction. That to me is absolutely insane and stupid and literally is risking the existence of our civilization. Why? What's the end goal? What's the objective? We don't have any of that.
Is it really risking the civilization?
Absolutely.
When they've got underground bunkers like Raven Rock and Mount Weather, and that's just the ones we know about?
Okay, sorry. The benefit of the 0.001%. And their
right. No, exactly. The people who have their finger on the button are like, I don't care what happens. I'll be fine.
It'd be a new civilization. Our civilization would be
They're going to live in a space station. Well, I'm going to live in a big space station or underground. What do I got to worry about?
I have a friend, Zach Rauda, who says that civilization is the fall of humanity. I'm like, well, no, it's this one particular. He would say that civilization is the downfall of humanity, what we've done. And I'm thinking it's this civilization that's on the back of oil, that's obsessed with like non-reproducible energy sources and food consumption.
But is that
that's
true?
Causing it? Yeah, because I think if we lived in harmony with nature, if we were getting energy out of the vacuum, that we could subsist. If we were like, creating life and then consuming that as opposed to just eating what's already there.
So you're talking about finding a way to harness 0-point energy.
Yeah, exactly. Like the vibration of the vacuum and stuff like that. But
I don't know enough about it, but I've read a bit about it, and I think it's interesting. I mean, fusion is going to be huge, but I'm not convinced that there are some people who have argued that fossil fuels, they're not necessarily as finite as we think, and that they're constantly in a state of production. It's not dinosaurs, it's algae that gets compressed, and they've actually synthesized petroleum this way.
That's pretty cool, but I don't have it.
But I think the real issue for these people clearly is energy dense resources like petroleum results in more human beings. And too many human beings means you lose control of the system.
Right. And if everybody had their own energy source, then you'd have even more exponential growth of humans, which could become an even bigger
imagine
problem.
how much prosperous humanity would be if we had free energy.
We would need to make moves fast, because if we get too many people on Earth with unlimited energy, they'll blow each other up.
I mean, if we had free energy, we could just make space stations and leave and go colonize the universe.
If we don't have the technology to like produce food and water out of the vacuum, then the energy is useless. It's just going to make people get hot and blow people up.
It's all about just converting into everything is just energy. You got to convert it and mash things together and structure it properly.
So it's still sci-fi. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But our civilization is on the back of like a non-renewable resource that it needs to seek out and mine. Like you're saying, they want mining rights because they want those non-renewables. And that would end
name an energy
with a nuclear
source
war.
that's renewable.
An energy source, well, like hydroelectricity.
So, aren't there components in hydroelectric dams that have to be replaced and repaired?
Yeah, renewable doesn't mean that it lasts forever 100%.
So we're still going to have to mine and search for minerals to make those energy sources
work. Yeah, you probably have like a 1,000th of the mining would be if you had stuff like that, or like tidal power. Like the amount,
I think you're making a lot of assumptions here. You don't know.
Picking up a number. I mean, the amount
you're
of
using their propaganda terms,
right? Wind turbines, for instance, require a ton of oil
to make
to run.
They don't.
Lubricants.
They cost more than the power would cost.
I don't know much about
wind turbines have an extremely low energy return on energy invested. It's like 0.4. I mean, I think it might be above 1, but it might be like 1.4. Whereas like petroleum is like 30 and nuclear power is like 50. So that means for every calorie you put in an investment, you get X output. Nuclear is the best, I believe.
Fusion is pretty regenerative.
And fusion is, I think, the absolute best we have so far. But petroleum is it's massive.
It's easy to get.
I think if the government had been out of the way for the last 30 years when it comes to energy, meaning stop subsidizing, stop regulating, stop controlling, that we would have already found a much better way to create energy. But because of the government's regulations, controls, I mean, nuclear energy is about as efficient as you're going to get as far as what we have developed in technology today. But the governments won't let us use it on the scale that we should be using it.
Too many people.
Dangerous, right? So, but if the government was out of the way, and there was deregulation, if you will, and I know that's a scary word for a lot of people, and they were not subsidizing, I believe we would have a lot of answers already when it comes to energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's intentionally controlling the output, the valve, because they don't want too many people.
Yeah.
Bingo. If nuclear energy was the norm, the energy return is higher than petroleum. So you look at that map, not the map, the chart showing population and then petroleum skyrockets within the span of like one generation. It's insane. We went from having around 500 million people on this planet for hundreds of years to billions. And it's because of technology, the machinery for plants, for farming, as well as the easy access of energy. Yeah. We upgrade from petroleum to nuclear, which is an even better return. And it's going to be another exponential massive increase. And I'm all for it. Just build spaceships and let's go send those spaceships out, put a bunch of people on them and bye-bye.
I think in
Colonize the
Idaho, we're
universe.
like every person, and don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty close. Every person in Idaho can have like 22 acres to themselves. So, not that we want that people to come to Idaho, but
Yeah, please don't.
but
Please don't.
and Nevada is like 88 acres or something like that.
Well, the
per
interesting thing
person.
is we're terraforming Vegas because here's how it works. Vegas is a desert. People fly there. And when those planes come, it brings water and human waste from other cities. And then people land and they, take their dumps and their beeps in Vegas. All of that stays there. So we're bringing massive amounts of moisture in our own waste.
Fertilizer.
Right. I don't know about human fertilizer. I don't think they've met, but it is bringing moisture. Then also when they ship food in to feed all these people, that creates more moisture. So now I was reading how there's clouds and there's grass growing. They brought in grass for houses because people like it. That's retaining moisture. We're basically, it's a man-made terraforming of the desert.
Yeah, like
it's
Arizona.
crazy. Yeah.
Lake Meadsville, it's drying up quick.
Yep.
Drying up
But
quick.
they're going to keep shipping the water in.
Yeah.
They're not going to let it, collapse.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It makes you wonder what they're going to do. My dad's ranch is like 20 miles. Well, was 20 miles just north of Lake Mead, the very tip of Lake Mead, and now it's like 35 miles. Whoa. So
wow.
it's
do you know that old city that reappeared? What it was called?
Yeah, St. Thomas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was it
I went there.
Under the lake?
Under Lake Mead, yeah.
What?
And then when it dried up, all of a sudden the foundations and everything appeared, and people started going out and taking pictures of it and stuff. I got to go there with
and
a
they
bunch of
found all
friends.
those dead bodies from the mafia.
Really?
Yeah, they found a whole bunch
Yeah.
that they thought would never show up again.
Yeah, it makes sense because they were out of Vegas for so long.
That's right, yeah.
It's crazy walking through the desert because there's like plants everywhere and you can't tell, but there's boat parts because people were, just
to
sink
be
to
a
the
lake.
bottom, right?
Yeah.
And now it's all dried up now. And like it came back for a while, but it's down, way down
it's
again.
way down. It's down further. It came up a little bit and then went way down.
It's all that global warming.
Yeah.
Bringing the end is
Well,
nigh.
a lot of that's going to California, not just Vegas.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
Right.
piping a lot of it to Southern
Oh,
California.
the Lake Mead water?
Mm-hmm. I think the bulk of it is actually going to, California.
It is. Yeah.
Interesting. Water rights. That's the guy who was it Michael Burry, the guy who The Big Short. I don't know if you saw that movie where he said, hey, the 2008 housing crisis is coming. He was the one that figured it out.
Oh, yeah.
He says water's the next big investment.
I remember him, yeah.
So
Well,
he's
I believe
investing
it.
in like
I believe
food
it.
transport and stuff like that.
But again, if we would get the government out of the way, we would figure out a way to, to renew water, because moisture doesn't leave the atmosphere. No. I mean, it doesn't. So you just it just goes different places, and it has to be used in a different way or benefited in a different way. So we would find ways to either get the salt out of the ocean or whatever it might be.
Yeah, desalinate. I'm concerned with getting the government out of the way completely because of like Nestle buying up water rights and land, like corporations becoming the new government if we don't have antitrust.
Well, that's what California is. Basically, the reason all that water's being taken up in California is for almonds, number one, and then also a lot of the other water being bottled up in Nestle, which is a smaller portion of it, but still significant.
The government protects Nestle and allows them to do that.
Correct.
Ian.
This government.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, so
Has been,
and the other, not to build on that too much because it'd be boring to talk about, but like the courts are where, like, if someone's rights are violated, we need the courts to go to and try to work it out. But what we don't need is the government going in and doing all these preventive, laws that actually make it so that we can't use the natural resources or we can't be free. If Nestle is like, putting toxic waste inside into the rivers or whatever they might be doing, then the courts are there for the people to say, look, we're going to take Nestle to court, we're going to sue them and stop them from this. But for the government to come in and like say, we're going to regulate and control the entire process so no one benefits, I think that's where we've gone wrong.
We're going to go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, and share this show with your friends. Be the notification you want to see in the world. YouTube isn't notifying everybody the show goes out. Now, some people are like, why would you need a notification if you're going to watch a show anyway? Because some people, they're not regular viewers, and if they're not getting notifications, it means they're not going to watch the show. Yeah. So if you guys share the video, the URL posted on Facebook, Twitter, or wherever you can, then you are the notification, and the censorship will be less effective. But also go to timcast.com, become a member. We're going to have a members-only show coming up at 11 p.m. Should be fun. And you also don't want to miss this week's Cast Castle episode with special guest stars Rusty Cage and Blair White. Let's read some Super Chats. All right. Neglectful Sausage says, Step 1, claim abortion is murder. Step 2, continue to pay IRS government to fund it. Step 3, don't try to criminalize it. Step 4, cowardice complete. I don't know if step 4 works, but I get the point you're trying to make. All right. Kolishnikov says the Dems are only just now switching parties because for most people, they got to burn to learn. The blue pill is the reddest pill. Yeah, a lot of people voted for Biden because they weren't paying attention. Yeah. But now you guys see that video of them booing Jill Biden at it was an Eagles game, I think?
No, I didn't hear the boos. I just saw a clip. I saw the picture.
It was crazy. They were booing and yelling F Joe Biden. Yeah. And Jill's just like singing along, and like she's from just outside of Philly, I guess. So this is deep blue Philly booing Biden. Yeah. It's gonna be crazy in the next couple of weeks, man. What are we, like 20 days out or something like that? Is it 20 days?
21 days.
He's got to take
21?
responsibility. This whole like
we're gonna have a big party on election night.
It's other people's
pizza,
fault.
wings.
It's their fault. That's the reason it's bad. It's over there. Like, just take some responsibility, I think, to win the hearts of the people back. But I don't know if you can at this point.
Never will.
And beef liver, Tim. Go for it.
You want to get a bunch of beef liver?
Damn right.
Why beef liver? What about foie gras?
Why beef liver? I've been screaming about this for like ever. It's like the healthiest organ you can ever eat. This
guy was on this show talking about how we got to get rid of the seed oils and was eating a Big Mac.
I don't know what you're talking about. That is blasphemous, Mr. Mayonnaise, sucking down high fructose corn syrup, seed oil drinker you.
This is actually funny because I was like, Luke, mayonnaise doesn't have sugar in it.
And I was screaming. I was like, yes, it does, you mayonnaise eater.
But the mayonnaise that I normally buy from the store, there's no sugar in it. But then we were at Sheetz, and I had a packet of mayonnaise, and I looked at it, it had corn syrup in it. And I was like, what? Why is there corn syrup in my mayonnaise? That's disgusting.
And it's in ketchup, and it's in bread. It's everywhere. You gotta. Yeah.
Was it high fructose?
There's a reason. We were at the supermarket. I was screaming at the top of my lungs inside of the supermarket. You have to.
I believe
that's the way to do it.
Well, so we went to Mom's, and Luke was talking as loud as possible to make sure everyone could hear him talk about. He was like, "Why is there seed oils in this one?" He's like looking around to make sure everybody's hearing him.
You know they've renamed high fructose corn syrup.
There's a depopulation agenda meant to, of course, sterilize you.
Look out for glucose fructose as an ingredient because that's what they're calling high fructose corn syrup.
They're renaming it.
Yeah, it's a rebrand. Everyone forgets.
All right, let's grab some super chats. John Hay says, Tim, I make miniature cameras for a private investigation firm. These things would be great for journalists. Want to pitch in for a change. Interested. What's your company? How do you find them? Maybe it's something Project Veritas could be into, you know?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right, what do we got here? I Am says, Ye did an interview with Kanye West. Did an interview with Chris Cuomo last night while he was on the way to meet the CEO of Parler. Millennial influencers are making cultural moves. That's cool. I'm glad, good for Kanye. I do think it's funny that Kanye says this stuff about like a Jewish mafia. And now I'm just like, okay, Kanye.
Little much.
But now there's memes of Kanye, Elon, and Trump together. And I'm like, do people realize that Kanye doing this is bad for Republicans because he's saying these things about Jewish people that people don't like? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do think it's fair to point out, though, I don't know what Kanye's trying to say. If he thinks there's like a secret conspiracy, he's wrong. But look, there's an Italian mafia. Like that's the thing that they refer to, like the mob. It's Italian. If you point out if there's an organization of 50 people and they're Jewish, would you not call them the Jewish mafia? You know what I mean?
You know, I think a problem Kanye is making is saying because his great ancestors were Jewish, this is the argument, that he's allowed to say inflammatory things about them. Like it's not a justification to be cruel or to be wrong, to say like erratic and to, you know, it doesn't matter who your ancestors were. You got to take responsibility for yourself.
Yeah, you can't make gross generalizations. Be specific, you know.
All right, Grofty says, "Oh my word, Buck, the best episode, number 8. I have not laughed at media like that in a long time. Being inundated with views, resolution, dropped some, but not choppy. Serge, thumbs up." So that's a reference to Cast Castle episode 8, which was directed by Blair White. So direct all your complaints to Blair. No, I'm kidding. But Blair was involved and helped with a lot of the jokes. They're really funny. And what we're trying to do, what we want to do with Cast Castle is basically, it's a hybrid of comedy and commentary. So we can mock what the modern goings on in our own way. You know, you get the point. So that's why we did the Cast Castle Civil War arc with like the election where Ian's running for union president. And then this one, I'm going to give you the quick gist of the trailer for the episode is really simply, someone is worried they're going to be fired for harassment. And so they adopt identities which prevent them from being fired. And then, you know, you should watch it. Rusty Cage is in it and it is patently absurd.
Yeah.
So I think it did go up. It went up a little late today, but it is what it is. We were really excited to get Blair involved as well. That was so awesome. Thank you, Blair, for coming out, and Rusty. All right. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, "Tim, no spoilers, but that cat fight got me good. I also enjoy when someone pushes an Oreo into my mouth. Luke milkers are bigger than ever imagined." So definitely become a member and watch the latest episode of Cast Castle, because we're going to get Media Matters writing about us, I imagine. Because we had good fun. I still have to. I was there for the filming of it, but I haven't actually watched the full thing. So
No, that's good. I watched it before.
Yeah,
Worth it.
Oh man, I'm nervous. All right. Sean says, "Ye is the next target of the Alex Jones precedent. The left and Dems have weaponized the courts system to silence dissent. This will never be used against them. Only the right will suffer from this." Sounds about right. Well, there's one simple solution. Just do and say whatever the left tells you, and you don't have to worry about it, right? Just bend the knee and be subservient. And what have you got to lose after that? Apparently nothing, because you'll owe nothing, but you'll be happy. So they say.
Whatever they say is happy.
Yep. All right. Unashamed Truth says, "I want to know, Ammon, how can Idahoans save Idaho?"
Oh man, that's a loaded question.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Tough, huh?
Yeah.
I want to put in that shit too. As someone that grew up in Ada County for a long period of my life, it's important for me. So love to hear your answer.
Is it true there's lots of potatoes in Idaho?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is true. There's lots
like
of other
potatoes.
crops too. Agriculture is the number one industry in Idaho.
For sure, by far.
Which is awesome.
But is it just a stereotype from the commercials? Idaho's
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely produce a lot of potatoes, but we're not the number one producer, I don't even think, in the United States. So
probably California,
we
right?
do a lot of wheat. I don't know who is, but I heard that the other day, so I don't know how true that is. But
The thing that's funny is we don't even eat all the potatoes that we grow in Idaho. Most of them are shipped out, so all the potatoes we get in Idaho are not from Idaho in the first place.
yeah, I grew potatoes in my garden this year.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They turned out. And we grow a lot of corn, a lot of wheat.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the question. We've kind of addressed the federal land issues that we have, federal land control, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can't even pay our own bills unless we get that straightened out. But really, it comes down to the left again, invading Idaho, like coming in, completely changing our culture, changing our laws,
Right.
all of that. That's what they're trying to do in Idaho. That's what they are doing. They're actually being successful at it.
Yeah, Ada
and
County.
so, you know, if there was one thing that I think would get the liberals to leave, is end the welfares, end the welfare in Idaho. They'll be going to these other states and getting on welfare there rather than coming here, because we know what is happening. They're coming here, getting on welfare, and then they're like almost full-time active in trying to turn our state upside down. So, but
All right.
so that's one
Oh,
thing.
looks like Idaho is the leading potato producer.
Yeah,
well, there you go.
2021 from Statista.com,
Well,
followed
that
by
is-
Washington and Wisconsin.
Okay.
Makes
All right,
sense.
Well,
William.
good. Now I know.
William Tresh says, I'm a corporate attorney. Generally, compensatory damages are not taxed as income, but psychological, emotional, defamation, and similar damages are. Interesting. Yeah, well, there you go.
So the lawyer's like, how hurt were you? More hurt. You were probably really hurt.
On a scale
right?
of 9 to 10, what's your pain level?
Yeah.
And say 10. All right,
More pain.
Andrew
More.
Rowland says, Tim, in response to you saying Republicans will do nothing, I'd rather have a government that does nothing than a government that does everything to take away rights. Agreed.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Beep Boop says, breaking news, Seamus seen floating into the sky, sign of the rapture. You know, that did happen. Is that where Seamus went?
Yeah.
You know, he was on the show one day, and the next day I saw him naked and just floating into the sky.
I thought he was going to Mars.
And maybe he did. There you go.
He seems more like a Uranus type of person.
Yeah, he does.
Just my own
He
personal
loves those
opinion.
gas giants.
Let's see what we got. Roscoe says, we shouldn't trust anyone switching sides to Republican. It's like the dude that got in the woman's lifeboat on the Titanic. No, I completely disagree. Take the wins. Take what you can get and trust but verify. You know, if someone, like a lot of people are ragging on Tulsi because she endorsed Biden, but now she's come out, she's endorsed Carrie Lake and Don Bolduc. And I'm like, take it. There are going to be independents who come with Tulsi and give you votes. You will gain power from this. Like, you will get political power from this. So it's a good thing. There you go. Whatever. Let's see what we got here. Daroon Ulbane says we need loser pays laws to stop lawfare.
I agree.
Loser pays?
Like the loser pays. Oh, so if someone
I
sues
see.
and they lose, they have to pay?
So there's
I mean, that's
consequence.
basically how it goes. You sue for damages and they have to pay, or you sue for court costs. You know,
It's already like that, yeah.
yeah. Emily Payton says goats are better than cows, hands down. Yeah, we were thinking about getting a cow, but we were told they produce like 8 to 10 gallons of milk per day. Is that true?
Well, yeah, if you have a Holstein or something, you don't
Yeah, a
have
dairy
to.
cow.
They don't have to be
You can-
producing milk. Is that what you were going to get them for, though? Is for the
Yeah.
milk? Oh.
Like, you know, not to kill and eat, but to have milk
yeah,
on
if you're
hand.
going to have a milk cow, yeah, they could produce up to 12 gallons a day.
Yeah.
12.
Yeah.
If they're like
Luke,
without
better start
GMO,
drinking.
without any kind of like injections
We
and
need a cow.
I don't know, like what the organics. I should know. It's probably a little less, but they still produce a lot of milk.
So what do you
And
think?
can
Goats
you
or cows? What do you got?
Goats will do like probably a gallon and a half.
Wow, a
Yeah.
gallon
Wow,
of
a day?
With a good because
And they're- and it's
you'll milk them
fattier,
twice
it's
a
fattier.
day.
Yeah.
Sometimes 3 times a day.
Yeah, depending.
And so they'll produce probably a gallon and a half a day.
Do you have a preference, cow or goat?
Well, cows have 3 stomachs, so their milk is very even, and that's why we use cows for milk. Goats don't. So like if they eat a weed or something like that,
no.
it's
You get it in the
nasty,
milk, yeah.
and it has a so it can be really really good, and it's really good for you. Like babies who are lactose intolerant can usually handle goat's milk,
Yeah, me
and
too.
so it's really good for you. So yeah, go for
that's
goats.
cool.
That's awesome.
But and I heard that they're fattier. So if you want to make cheese and stuff, goat
Yeah.
is better.
Goats,
right.
unless there's certain like a Jersey will produce more in cows. They'll produce more cream than like a Holstein. So, but goats are great.
But
yeah.
there's like smaller cows, right? That don't produce as much.
Yeah. I mean, you get a nice little small Jersey. That's great. It's
Yeah,
great.
but you know, people are like, get goats, and I'm like, yeah, because you get one goat, and like you said, the people are advising maybe get 2 dwarf goats or whatever. But like cows are funny. You know, they stand there all day. Like whenever I drive past cows, they're just standing. They're not doing anything. Is that all they do? They just stand there?
yeah. Well, I mean,
It's funny.
They just eat all day long.
Yeah,
Eat,
I find
eat.
it entertaining.
So-
We have Chicken City. I don't know if you saw it.
I
on the
saw
way.
that. Yeah, that's
And
good.
I was reading on Wikipedia. It said humans find their behavior entertaining, and I was like, "This is verified, confirmed."
So if you were going
Very
to
entertaining.
advise a budding rancher, what would be the first ranch animal or group of them animals that they should focus on?
Well, I mean, if you're doing it for food or you're doing it for money, that's what.
Okay, that's
what-
the
what
first thing
really
you got to
comes
For
down
decide.
surviving the apocalypse.
Yeah, for surviving. Well, so actually, rabbits will produce more meat in a year's period of time than 2 rabbits. Male and a female rabbit a buck and a doe will produce more meat than a bull and a cow,
But-
bovine, in 1 year, and they're much easier to take care of.
But you don't get enough fat from rabbits. You got to eat the marrow.
Actually, yeah, that's true. That's true. So you got to go kill like a walrus or something, or a whale, and then get lots of fat from it. So
Is there like a pig maybe? Like could you supplement the rabbit meat with like a fattier meat, like a pig or something?
Pork. Yeah, pigs are like, they got skin like humans almost, so they're like susceptible to like cold and heat, and you really got to take care of them. They're labor intensive.
And if you I hear if you faint or fall into pigsty, they'll eat you.
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
So like get a. If I was to do it, I would get chickens. I would have goats, and I would still have cows. I'd still have and then just have them where they can reproduce, and that's a pretty good.
You know why chickens are funny? They're smart enough not to drink water they crap in, but not smart enough not to crap in their water. And that's that. So we when we first got the chickens, we noticed this, and someone sent us one of the chicken water bins where it's got the little nozzles they can peck. And I'm like, it basically solved the problem. But man, they just crap where they stand, and it's just everywhere.
So if you don't like have it where they can drink water without crapping it, they'll just thirst to death.
Yeah.
They stop drinking it.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is what was happening to us. It was annoying. I'm like, well, why did you? Even that we have the brooders. And the water setup is very difficult for them to crap in. They still figured out how to do it. And the weirdest thing is when you look at the plastic, like the see-through plastic on the brooder, somehow they crap up onto it, and you're like, how did they do that?
I get that metaphor where you're like, the world elite think of us like chickens, because it must be so frustrating to be like chickens. All I need is some fresh water. Quit. Why do they? And they are just too stupid to get it because they're chickens. They're always going to be too stupid. And is that what people think about me? Is that like he's just not going to stop going to the grocery store, man? He's just too stupid.
All right, let's read some more. Johnny Generic says federal government owns a huge amount of land in the West. I covered this in my blog spot, Johnny Generic, and we didn't pull it up, but it was on Ammon's computer. He showed it's crazy. All right. Jackson says the land is hard, rocky, scrubby, and arid. Good for little else than cattle grazing. The tortoises would enjoy the company. Down with BLM. Both will do nicely.
Amen to that.
That's a good one.
Amen to that.
All right. Brave New Clown World says Ammon Bundy is described as an American anti-government militant on Wikipedia. That's a title I think we all strive for. Wow. But I wouldn't say that's accurate.
No, it's not accurate.
Wikipedia always just takes the most extreme version of whatever they can paint you as.
Always.
Anti-government people don't.
So Roger Stone
run for
is all
government.
about. Roger Stone's all about like never defending yourself. Just always going on the offense. So I'm not going to defend that title. You're like, whatever, I'll take it. But it's not accurate.
All right. Russell Miller says, hey, crew, just recently subscribed on Timcast. The after hours shows are hilarious.
Yep.
Tim Pool reading fact check that has nothing to do with topic. Effing and I was dying. Love you guys. Stay safe.
That's a good
Yeah, that was Posobiec. Jack Posobiec posted on Instagram about how all of these people were saying that the vaccines would stop transmission, but now you have the Pfizer executive who said they didn't test for it. There was a fact check put on his Instagram, and when you click it, it says misleading context because they didn't test for that. And I just yelled effing, I actually swore. And like, what does that have to do with anything? But, the after hour shows are always really fun. So you want to sign up at timcast.com. We're going to have one of those coming up for you. All right. Didi Megadoodoo says the Bundy story was one of the first stories that red pilled me and was a flagrant example of government corruption. I wish you luck in your race. Reach out to Jason Seiler of The Simple Truth, who moved there recently. I recently went to Waco. I went to the Branch Davidian compound, got to look at the, read the history of it. They have a bunch of stuff there you can check out. And when you read about this stuff, the government does dirty things.
Yeah.
And look, if there were criminals who could get away with committing a crime, they would. And so when there are people in government who commit crimes, they will get away with it. And there's no cops for the cops.
Yeah, if you want to commit a crime, just become a politician. And I really wanted to ask you, what did you learn about government infiltration from your experiences?
Like at the Bundy Ranch?
Yeah.
Oh man. So we actually did not find out that the FBI was even involved at the ranch and until our trial it was almost 4 years later when we're in trial, and we start to run into this this discovery, and we started doing cross-examination with the government witnesses, and we find out that the FBI was actually pushing and in control of this whole thing, and that they tried to scrub that they were even involved at all. And we ended up discovering that they were hiding over 3,800 files, not documents, files of exculpatory evidence. And we just blew it all up like it was the FBI that was behind all of this. And it was the HRT team, the same team that went into Waco, the same team that went into Ruby Ridge, the same team that killed my friend Lavoy Finicum. And it was that same group of government agents that were pushing all the buttons at the Bundy Ranch.
Was there any agent provocateurs?
Absolutely. They had what they called the First Amendment team, where they actually went down among the people and were trying to create dissent, trying to, provoke the people. There was all of that was going on. So, yeah, I mean, I could go on and on with that, but yeah. And they actually had hired former CIA agents to come in and to run their alias social media accounts and all of that, to try to get the people to basically turn against us, because they felt like if they could get the people to turn against us, and they would justify the violence that they were about ready to use upon my family.
Yeah, I think they were using the Bundy name, because I thought of Ted Bundy. And then I thought of like Ruby Ridge and like Waco. Those are the things that were going through my mind whenever I heard about the Bundy Ranch.
Right.
And they weren't they weren't clearing it up for me. Nothing was being cleared up for me.
Yep. All of that was going on at the little Bundy Ranch in the middle of the desert.
All right, Elijah says, Tim, you've got it backwards. Give the death penalty to the rapist, not the innocent child. Why kill the child for the sins of its father? We wouldn't do that in any other case. But I've not made that argument. My argument is, why should the government have the right to mandate a woman have to share her body and blood with another human being? I do not see an ethical line there. Granted, there's like no middle ground on the debate. It's like it's a straight spike, and you either fall on one side or the other, and it's very, very difficult. That being said, there's a new middle ground forming because the left has become pro-abortion outright, where they're arguing for abortion to the point of birth, where I'm just like, okay, well, now we're all against that.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're right wing. I actually was on here debating with a leftist as pro-choice, traditional position, which is like, first trimester pre-viability, but post-viability not allowed in any capacity. And he's arguing with me like I'm pro-life. And Seamus is sitting here not saying anything. And I'm like, the pro-life guy is there. Like, you're arguing with me? This is crazy. They've gone nuts on this stuff, man. But that's ultimately what's happening. Because this is what I said. They thought they got me. Because I said, if I have to vote between a Democrat who wants abortion to the point of birth and a pro-lifer who says ban all abortion, I vote for the guy who's going to ban all abortion, because aborting a baby at 9 months gestation is insane.
Yeah.
But like, what do you want me to do? Yeah. I'm not happy about the choice, but if that's your position, I vote for not killing babies.
I think I'd err on the other one, because
letting them kill a baby?
Yeah, trying to control society feels like centralizing control of society sounds really dangerous right now.
Some people make some good points. We legislate morality. Where we draw the line on when it is murder is an interesting point to be made. And I think that if a baby's been in the womb if the baby can survive outside the womb, then killing it. I think abortion is wrong outright. I think life begins at conception, and I believe it is killing a baby to abort it. I think elective abortion, man, that's tough. I think abortion as an elective process for contraceptive reasons, I would akin to murder. Mm-hmm. I'm not in the same position as most pro-lifers. I don't know why that is, but I would say if the baby can survive on its own and you kill it, you are murdering the baby. The thin layer of flesh between the mother and the baby does not change the fact the baby could survive if it were to be removed from the mother. So killing it serves no purpose. Yeah. But Democrats tried passing a law to grant exceptions to allow this, and I think that's just bonkers insane.
Crazy, man.
So who do you vote for? Now you actually have Republicans saying, okay, we're going to give exceptions on the issues of rape. And I'm like, well, okay. All right, I guess. Mm-hmm. And Democrats are like, no, we don't want any restrictions at all. And I'm like, well, I'm not voting for that.
Yeah, they show their true colors and really what their motives are.
They really do.
Yeah. Thomas Scarlett says, do you not get 2 murder charges for killing a pregnant woman? In some states, not all states, but in some states you would. And that just is weird. Like, isn't it in California that if a woman's pregnant and you crash into her car or whatever negligently, they charge you with killing the baby?
Sounds like it.
I think it's California.
Did you hear about that judge that I guess this lady got pulled over for going in the HOV lane, and she claimed that she was pregnant, and he had to agree with her that there was two people. So he had her fined for not having a car seat.
I mean, I think that's funny, but I think he should have just went, "Oh, you got me. Oh, geez, precedent has been set.
Yeah,
it's a life.
I agree.
Thank you so much, ma'am."
Yep.
Just roll with that. Okay, Gen Z says Ian is pure evil.
Okay.
Kind of vague. Good and evil are very subjective.
serious,
You gotta
man.
be careful with
He's
those
not
words.
that bad.
You heard it
Yeah,
first. You heard it first.
he's not pure evil.
I'm
Maybe
87% good, 13% evil.
yeah, 13%. It's like a good delirium.
If you're good all the time, you're a zealot, because good is your own subjective idea of what good is.
Ooh, good point.
No, I think that's evil.
Of course.
Zealotry is evil.
I think
Zealotry?
zealotry in
Yeah,
general
zealotry is typically
just
like,
zealotry.
blind zealotry.
Yeah.
To specify. But like, yeah,
Because you can be a zealot about positive things.
like not being willing to reason or listen, I think is the banality of evil.
protecting your ignorance.
I don't know.
Right.
Sometimes you gotta just go with what you know is right.
All right. Ejiro says, Tim, you guys keep talking about Putin unleashing nukes. What about the U.S. doing the same? Talk about us. I don't see the U.S. nuking Ukraine. That's where the war's happening. And I don't see the U.S. launching a preemptive nuclear strike on Russia, although, hey, maybe. I just don't think it's likely. I think the reality is that Putin needs to win this war in Ukraine, and nukes are a path to doing it. The U.S. has got a major military alliance with NATO. I don't know. You guys think the U.S. would nuke them first? I don't think so.
No.
All right. Cam Girl Asuna says, so let me get this straight. These people are intentionally trying to reduce the population, and that is not grounds for armed revolt. Just let them kill me, eh, Tim? Well, first of all, I'm not saying intent. And the interesting thing is this falls in line with like this Fallout narrative. You have you ever heard of the video game series Fallout? It doesn't seem like it'd be up your alley.
I haven't.
In the first Fallout, I think it might be 1. It might be 2. You might know this.
Yeah.
The super mutant queen or king or whatever.
the first one.
The first one
Yeah.
says, we'll allow you to live, but we're going to sterilize you. Like, we don't want to kill you and harm you, but we can't allow you to procreate. Like, that's one of the endings. And you can be like, okay. And then you live a happy, healthy life, but, they sterilize you or whatever.
You become a mutant.
No. Well, you can choose to, right? That's one of the
think
options.
I heard you guys talking about Fallout last time. One of the things the Fallout universe gets wrong is all the food. In a real life situation, like you were saying, pick up moldy cheese, you'd be lucky to find a piece of food.
You'd be
dirt in a real. It would be like 90+% of the population would just starve out right away.
Maybe eating each other. But as
if you can
for,
even find someone to eat, it'd be crazy.
Because people be irradiated.
As for armed revolt, you are 20 days away from a red tsunami where we may actually see some profound changes. So no armed revolt. The opportunity right now is, look, Elon is buying Twitter. We may see a major shift in the culture war that grants free speech. I mean, things are looking really good. Don't ruin it now by, acting a fool. Now's the chance to just walk with a smile on your face, cast your ballot, get your friends to vote. And then when the Republicans come in, I'm not confident in all the Republicans, but I think a handful. Carrie Lake, that's really exciting to me in Arizona. Yeah. And if you've got concerns about what's going on in Arizona's government, I think Carrie Lake's a really great option. So get out there and vote. She swept the primary. Let's see what happens. So it's looking good. We'll say that. You don't make mistakes when you're winning. All right. Well, I think we've gone a little bit over, so we'll just leave it there. If you haven't already, please smash the like button, would you kindly? Subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and become a member at timcast.com, because I assure you, if there was ever a Cast Castle episode you'd want to see, it's going to be this one with special guest stars Blair White and Rusty Cage. It is bonkers, crazy, one of the craziest ones we've ever done. I'm really excited to watch it. I hope it came out well. I was involved a bit in the writing and directing, but we had a bunch of people working on this one, so it's really exciting. We've got some great plans for the next one that's going to be really offensive. And if you listen to the uncensored members-only show, you'll have heard what the idea may have been. And so it's going to be really disgusting and fun. So check it out over at timcast.com. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me at Timcast. Ammon, do you want to shout anything out?
I've got a really detailed website at votebundy.com.
People can donate there?
They can donate there. They can find out what I'm all about. There's lots of videos. I've addressed abortion. I've addressed the groomers. I've addressed, a lot of hot topics there and videos. And yeah, votebundy.com. Go subscribe to Twitter at Real Ammon Bundy. Yeah, support me.
Right on.
Idaho's looking really good, and we're making a big impact there.
Sounds good.
Thanks for coming on. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/wearechange. I'm very proud of the video I did today about Russia, the larger proxy war, the newer strategy here. Check that out, and I will see you there on youtube.com/wearechange.
You can follow me at Ian Crossland on any social media. There it is behind me if you want to see how that looks. Ammon. I was like, it's not Amon. It's not Ammon. It's Ammon.
That's right.
It's Real A Bundy at Twitter.
Correct.
It's just the A, Real A. Okay. And when people, Idahoans come and check you out, when is the election?
It's November 8th.
And
yeah, it's you can, they're doing the early ballot stuff already, but November 8th is when we all go down and vote.
Good talking to you, man.
Yep, you too.
Yep. Hey, man, Idaho in the chat. I see a lot of people here posting there from Idaho, so I'm voting for you, man. Stand up.
We will see you all over at timcast.com at about 11 p.m. Thanks for hanging out.
Cheers.